wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Welcome to Dragonmount. I'm Kathy Campbell.
I'm Rajiv Moté.
And I'm Maureen Carr. In today's episode, we're talking about the season finale of Season 2 of The Wheel of Time. This one is called What Was Meant to Be. It was directed by Sanaa Hamri, and it was written by Rafe Lee Judkins and Timothy Earl.
Oh, okay, I don't know about you all, but this hit perfect for me. It wrapped it up in ways that I was not even beginning to hope or be expected for it to happen. And I am so pleased with how this worked out. Like, it just, I'm trying to think of like concerns or like negative parts of it, and unlike past episodes this is really hard for me to find like constructive criticism even because I feel like it was really well done.
Yeah, I've got this weird tendency, and it's like the more I like something, the more little things I find to pick at it, which is totally, contrarian that way. But, I thought this was such a leap above, certainly the first season finale for me. Oh, yeah. But, it hit all the right beats. I think my overarching criticism, and again, it's a criticism with love, is that those beats, I wanted sort of more behind them. I wanted, you can't do this with eight episodes, but I, knowing the sorts of things that were coming, I just sort of wanted the build up that I was expecting or I was hoping for or had gotten from the books or whatever. But just seeing them on screen was so much fun. Yeah. So if I sound very critical, it's because I really got into this episode, and it's all with love.
Yes. Yeah.
And we go in with the knowledge of the book, so I feel like I got all of those beats, and the, like you were saying, Rajiv, like the build up to it. But for non-book readers, like they don't have the background knowledge to be able to get that same fangirl feeling I got, which is kind of sad.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is, it's okay. I think there's something to be said for the power of the series without the books in the background too. But it's shall we?
I would love to hear some comments from show. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I'd just love to. I'd love to hear some comments from show only folks on whether the payoffs that we get so many payoffs sort of landed for them, or did they come out of left field? It's hard for me to even judge. So I'd love to hear that perspective.
Yeah, please let us know. You can leave a message on the YouTube if that's where you're listening to us, or comment on any of our social media, or you can always email me directly at Kathy@dragonmount.com. Okay, so this...
Sorry. Well, one thing, I'm sorry, can I say real quick? So my spouse is not a book reader, and he's actually 2 episodes behind. But his biggest complaint is, again, just that there's not enough build-up. So he compared it to the Marvel latest phase. Are we in phase 4, phase 5? Whatever it is, after Endgame. Yeah. And that... For the people that read the comic books, are like, oh, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool. But for the average fan, it's like, it's too disjointed. There's too many plots going on that don't seemingly connect.
Yeah.
So he said that's his biggest complaint. Yeah, which I can definitely see if you're not a book reader.
Yeah. Well, let's hope and this is optimistic, vibes being sent out when Amazon renews season 4. Maybe we'll get 10 episodes. Even just those 2 extra episodes, I feel like
that would be nice.
Add an extra breadth of space to have those moments to where you don't have an episode 6 and 7 combination where you have, you know, in order to get this extremely emotional and person based episode, you then have to, you know, play chess in episode 7. So that's my hope. We'll see what happens, because I doubt there's no way that we have 10 episodes or longer runtime or anything for season 3 already, mainly because it's already, like, they're filming. So yep. There's no way that Amazon would have made the changes for that by the time that anyways, doesn't matter. Let us begin with this finale. And unlike previous episodes where we were able to kind of pull out little plot lines and kind of talk about them on their own, that's not really possible with this episode. Yeah. Everyone is interlinked and crossed, so we are going to be a strictly chronological episode summary, discussion, conversation, and then of course at the end we have a well-packed book to screen discussion section, which of course will be hidden and notified behind the spoiler Horn of Valere. One more thing I was going to say. Oh, we are also going to have an episode coming, maybe in the future, that will talk about our predictions that we think will come with season 3. So stay tuned.
And
for that
will be 4 hours long.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You're joking, and yet it's entirely possible.
We're gonna record 4 hours.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Who knows how long this one's going to be or going to take? But that being said, let's get started. I noticed that there was a longer previously on than normal, mainly because they touched on each of the characters in the kind of like recap part, which is how you know it's kind of the finale, because everybody's gonna be involved. and
we got the beautiful animation opening credits.
Not yet. We got to do the prologue first. Come on. Jeez, Rajiv, it's like you didn't even watch the show. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Watched it twice back to back. I still don't remember everything.
That's okay. That's why I have these notes in full details. So after the recap, it hops to a sign of 3,000 years, and you're diving in to Ishi is kneeling on the Aes Sedai symbol with a large group of male channelers wrapped around. And Lews Therin is basically they're having this conversation where you can this scene like started the build up for me being broken, just because the connection between these two, and then later on we learn, you know, the three, Lews and Ishi and Lanfear, were friends. This idea that Ishi just wants to die. And Lews is twisting that to basically, you know, hey, we're going to, you know, like, I don't want to do this. Okay, so Ishi says, kill me and you and I can dance again in our next lives. And Lews says, I don't want to do this again. I'm not going to kill you. They say you will be conscious, but not aware, like a dream. They say the seal is so strong, not even I could break it. And then this line, I know how much you hate being alive, and for that I am so truly sorry, my friend. They've managed to show this connection of friendship between each other, like, in a beautiful way. Like, even, you know, we talked about build up and we talked about kind of how to make these connections make an impact in such a short period of time. And I would love to know, between this and other things that are said in this episode, kind of if that hits for the show only viewers, if this is a moment that like meant as much to other people as it kind of did to me. What about you guys? How did you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Maureen, go ahead. You looked like you were gonna.
Okay. So sorry, you got lots to say, I'm sure. So I was just super happy that we had a flashback, first of all. Having Lews Therin again, and this, it just gives the story more depth when we see these past interactions, these, how Rand used to be. And yeah, building up that friendship, which we see a little bit later, even Lanfear talks about it, the three of them. Again, it's just more dimension. It's making these characters and their motivation a lot more relatable. When you have friends that they turn to the shadow because of things you did. And, you know, he's got that sense of obligation to fix it more than if it was just like, oh, this random person I was kind of acquainted with went to the shadow. You know, I think it's going to make Rand and Lews Therin kind of like examine their past life and give them a little bit more motivation as to why they're trying to save the world and or their friends.
Yeah.
Get all philosophical.
This was really interesting to me. They've got a line that's said by Lews Therin here. I don't want to do this again, and it's repeated later on by Ishamael, and it means two different things here, because these are characters here in the Age of Legends 3,000 years ago. They are fully aware of the cosmology of the Wheel of Time. They understand that people are reborn. You know, when we learned about this in the first season, when Tam al'Thor was talking with his son Rand about people returning, it had sort of a religious sort of this quality of belief that may not be substantiated necessarily, but it was an article of faith. Here it's a matter of science. Here it's a matter of absolute knowledge.
Yes.
And they're debating with each other, saying, well, you know what? We're going to do this again. And I know you don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And for Ishamael, not wanting to do this again means stopping that endless cycle of death and rebirth and pain. What he sees is pain. For Lews Therin, it's more pragmatic and more almost terrifyingly cold. He comes off as an ass in this scene.
Yeah.
He's saying, I don't want to do this again, so you know what? I'm not going to let you die. We're going to seal you away and keep you alive. And that way, I don't have to deal with you again in the next life. And that is so cold.
So cold.
We've had so much exposure this season to Ishamael, and he's a charming guy. He's got, yes, he's the big bad. He's the villain. He's evil. But he also has a reason for wanting what he wants, and he's got a charisma here, and almost a gentleness in some way. Yeah, he strokes every Tavern's cheek, but beyond that, he's not what we had in the books, which is kind of a raving villain who's above everyone else. He's a person with personality, and here we see him brought low, brought completely low, and it was affecting. And this moment of, I don't want to do this again, then pays off at the end of this episode in a really cool way.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I love how impressive isn't quite the right word, but like the bookends of this episode with the prologue and the final scene of fighting. Not the final scene.
No, not the
but
epilogue.
But that, it felt really, really beautiful. It was really well done. And then we get the credits again. I don't know if they saw the complaints online or this was always the plan or what, but we get the full beautiful weaving credit sequence, which I really want a cross-stitch pattern with that tapestry.
Oh, yeah.
But I know it would also make me cry. Because it would be so big and complex. I'm going to see, though, if I can get if I can get a high quality file of the tapestry and maybe make my own pattern. We'll see if that happens.
That is ambitious. You need something to do between seasons.
Right? I got to do something. So, audience, send it my way if you find it. Because it's so beautiful. Anyways, so we got that moment that really a little bit of a breather between the prologue and the main scene, the first scene, which is the opposite of Game of Thrones in that I feel like this episode in particular was very bright. Not that it's a criticism, but there was a lot of white,
the actual physical
hot
lighting.
sun. The actual physical lighting felt really bright in a way that I hadn't really seen in a fantasy series, which I think is a really good dichotomy almost. Like you have all of this brightness in a show that still can have emotional moments, which I really liked. And we're hanging out. Speaking of white, we're hanging out with the White Cloaks. They're doing something with clouds of white smoke. And Dane,
little altar boys.
Yes, little altar boys. I thought it was so cute. And Dane walks over to his daddy, who's talking about the plan to attack the tower. Is like, okay, here's what we think. Here's all the information.
Did you think they were talking about the White Tower?
For a second, I did, and then I was like, "Oh no, that's not where they are. Obviously not." But I definitely, and then I thought it again, even though. So in the future, when they get through the gates and they're shouting, "Get to the tower!" I had a moment again where I was like, "Did they make it there? Nope, still in fault. Like, obviously they're not.
We're
and
in
yet,
fault.
Yeah, and yet my brain was like, okay, that must be where they are.
Yeah. So Geoffram's, So Geoffram's plan, of course, is to he anticipates the tactics. He understands their military enough. They are outside of Falme. They're going to attack Falme. And what's interesting is we learn that all of these nations, Falme has sent letters to all of these different nations to say, we need help, we've been invaded, and the White Cloaks are the only ones to answer that call. Yeah. So they see themselves as the heroes here, and there's enough to back that up. They are here to confront the invaders, who are slavers and are killers, and they're going to come in and liberate the city of Falme. And they understand the tactics. They know that there's this central tower in the city, and that's where they're going to put their witches. They don't quite understand the Sildam Damani dynamics, and that's another thing that threw me when he was talking about needing to kill the witches in the tower. That's like, well, that's how they talk about the White Tower in the Aes Sedai. But nope, and to them, there's no difference. There are channelers who are going to be in combat here, and they need to kill them first. Dane brings up to his father, hey, what about the Prophecies, which is about the dragon announcing himself here? And Geoffram's like, okay, the Prophecies are the lies of long-dead witches. Don't worry about that. We're here to liberate a city.
Yeah, Okay, once again, I feel like we talk about this every freaking time, but every villain that we've seen has humanity in it. This idea that, when Jeffrem's like, no one came, these strangers are slavers and murderers, we fight them because we must. Like, that moment, it feels, okay, yeah, I can see what's going on. Their vibes, as they say, like what's happening. Even though it probably will get twisted in the future, and we've seen what Valda has done with this power, but you see Jeffrem kind of has this bit of, like, I know what my job is. I'm going to trust in the light. I'm going to trust that this plan will work. And regardless of whatever happens, let's go. To his men,
we have something that they don't have.
And I like too, how they flashed. Yeah. We have something they don't. Yep. And then I like how they flashed back and forth with Lanfear in the ways while they're still talking. And then we finally fully transitioned to that conversation. I thought that was really neat. They've really melded the editing of this episode and the sounds that they've used and the slow motion that will come in the future. All of this feels so much more heightened than it has in the past. You can tell that the editors in particular went into this knowing that they had / wanted to make up for episode 8 of season 1, the finale of season 1. Like, I think that they knew there was a lot of pressure, and they brought their S game, because this was S tier for sure.
Yeah, and just one thing about the prophecy, going back to episode 8 of season 1, it makes no sense if Moiraine knows the dragon's going to be proclaimed in the skies above Falme, that she lets Rand go. I mean, it just seems such a lapse in her judgment. And I know she thinks she's been stilled and she's kind of like having this like panic moment, but that just seems so like, okay, yeah, Rand, go your own way. We're done. We defeated the Dark One. Yeah. But they hadn't fulfilled any of those prophecies.
Well, I think you could have defeated the Dark One and still not have the last battle coming. Maybe was her idea, or possibly this idea that we still need the dragon even if the Dark One is defeated, because there's all of the people that are doing the Dark One's like bidding.
I feel like we'd get into a lot of justifying on behalf of the show. I think Maureen's right. What Moiraine knows and what she was trying to do in season 1 really don't pair up. And I can only, my meta speculation on this is that they weren't sure they were getting a season 2 and wanted to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Give you an ending if necessary, if they could go no further than this.
Yeah.
And maybe we've got some assurances now, and we're getting a more complete story as a result.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so. I don't know, though. I mean, after season 3, it's all kind of up in the air. I know there's been a lot of discourse conversation online because they're like, oh, season 2 has lower views. And yet it's like, no, it like this was a particular...
There's no hard data on any of this. They don't share that data, and we know from watching shows that you don't get announcements of seasons 2-3 levels out in that kind of a time frame.
It was shocking that they announced season 3 before season 1 had aired. Like that was absolutely surprising. And so I think it would be ridiculous for Amazon to not renew this for season 4 plus, but also there ain't no way they're going to do it anytime soon. That it's just not going to happen. especially when they
Meaning
still have to hype.
announcements, right?
Yeah, it'd be announcements, not actual. Like, it would not surprise me, in fact, if there was already a contract in place for season 4. Like, if they already have stuff planned. But who knows? We'll find out. Just, okay, everyone take a shot every time I say we'll find out. Here's the first one.
We'll refrain from speculating about the business end of things, because frankly, that's not the entertaining part anyway.
Nope. So speaking of entertaining, let's talk about Lanfear totally owning Moiraine in the Wigs, shall we?
Absolutely. Loved this scene. And she is in total control. The others are just there to kind of follow her lead, because she's the one who's capable in this environment. You can see by the ease with which she opens the way gates.
Oh my gosh, it was so basic, like easy. We saw that a little bit in episode 7 when she opens the way gate again, and the balance between.
And it takes Moiraine like 5 minutes to do all of this.
So much more energy, and so it's like. This is you can see how powerful she is, and then just kind of like a flick of her fingers and throws Moiraine and Lan out. Like, okay, bye. and she knows that Moiraine too has been not healed necessarily, but has the power again.
Yeah, she's been unshielded. She detects the power, which. Again, I'm a little confused as to who can do what now. Is Lanfear able to see this because of a talent, or is it?
I think it was I think it was meant to imply, and seemed like how Moiraine was holding herself, how she was acting, type of a thing, was more like somebody that could channel, as opposed to being disappointed, drained, exausted from.
Got it.
Not being able to channel, especially because Moiraine had seen, or Lanfear had seen Moiraine when she couldn't channel, so she knows how she was acting.
You're right, and I think they even reinforce this a little later on. It doesn't spoil much, but just to say that Lan notices that she's walking quicker now. She's walking faster, and she says, I don't have the weight of water buckets on my shoulders. You know, her way of saying she's renewed. She doesn't have this burden on her anymore.
And the bond gives the Aes Sedai power too. Like, we can't forget the power. It's a reciprocal relationship between them. But that's in the future. Right now, Lanfear has gotten rid of dead weight, as she says, because there are faster ways to get to Falme.
Yeah. Oh, and Rand is he's concerned because this addressed something that I was wondering about. If you channel in the waves, that's what attracts Machin. So the Black Wind still does exist here. It's not revealing anything this time. It's just swooping down and howling. But yes, Lanfear finally tips her hat. Actually, she asks Rand to close his eyes. I don't know if she's worried that he would puzzle out how to travel, but yes, indeed. The Forsaken know how to use the one power to teleport, and she teleports out of the ways just as the Black Wind is swooping in.
Yeah, which way scarier than in season 1.
Yeah. I think the less it says, the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was all good.
Yeah. It was good. So good. So
now the White Cloaks are on their way.
Moiraine
and Lan will find out about. Lanfear and Rand are on their way. And who else are coming to Falme?
The ABC maidens, Perrin and Hopper, are also on their way.
Yay.
I can't remember which one is Bane and which one is Chiad. But one of them sees the clouds that we're gonna assume is from the White Cloaks, and I was like, that doesn't belong here, and they just keep walking.
Yep.
And I was like, so casual, it's not gonna like affect them other than let them know that many people will wake from the dream today. And
That
Perrin,
means they're gonna die.
yeah. And Perrin tells Hopper to stay like a good boy.
All right, we'll get there.
I know. But instead, you see a really beautiful view going up to the tower area, and Ishi watches the smoke roll in and just kind of smiles like, haha, my plan is coming together. Except, spoilers, Lanfear shows up and is like, oh, hey, I brought Rand. And Ishi's like, what? We're not ready. We're not, like, I'm not ready. And Lanfear's like, dude, I know you. And, like, it's going to either happen or it won't. No amount of planning will help that. And Ishi just is like, exhausted.
Well, this was my first inkling that that Ishamael actually had a real plan around this, because we know he wanted to break Rand, and we knew that he was going to use his friend's captivity and suffering to do that, but he also knows that it's too soon. They haven't completely broken or turned Rand's friends yet. It's not going to have the same impact. Rand is still not worn down enough to turn. And, Lanfear plays it off like, oh, you're going to want to delay. Anyway, you have so much patience, too much patience, that you'd be willing to wait for another life to get all of this done.
Yes.
But, we gotta move things along. So now it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. But Ishamael is also aware that this is a possible point of betrayal from Lanfear. Even though they say to each other, I balance you and you I. And then we get the view as they pull out. There are indeed 6 seals of the Dark One's prison. Yep. 6 seals intact. And by our new math, it certainly seems that that means there are 8 Forsaken total.
Yep.
Yes.
And for the record, please stay tuned to our social media because I was correct. Suck it, Jason. Get ready to live stream your fancy dancing.
Your martial arts dancing.
We also learned that Samael, thank you,
yes.
is one of the male Forsaken. Because
that's right. One of the 3,000-year-old conversation things he was named.
Yep, in the prologue, he was mentioned. So, we know, obviously, Ishi and Lanfear, Magidian and Grendel, Samael, which leaves 3 more boys. Right?
Yep.
Comment and comment with your guesses.
Yes, let us know who you think it is. But that's okay. We're going to move on. We've got plenty of space to theorize while we wait for season 3. So instead, we're going to keep on talking about season 2. And you see more, or the choir boys come back again. And they're dancing with their incense, white smoke stuff. I want to know what this is because it works really well. Like, I don't know if you've ever...
They make a lot of smoke.
Yeah, a lot of smoke. It spreads super wide. It's super thick, as seen by the fact that the guards are coming in and, like, the Shanshan guards are like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? What's this? And then this great moment of epic editing where it's, like, the silence, and then you hear the pounding horses running. And then silence again, like the back and forth was really effective in my mind. And then here come the White Cloaks. They're screaming. They're yelling. Get to the tower. They're going to start their fighting.
Well, during the trailer for this one, I did speculate that this was going to be maybe the Heroes of the Horn, because it looked like they were in the clouds. Right. And so I guess it was just that thick smoke.
Yeah. But
I have to imagine that was a deliberate fake out.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
To us.
Yeah. Well, they got me.
Yep. But it worked. It worked well. Also, something I didn't mention in the like the beginning part of it, shall we say, the White Cloak uniforms are a little bit different, way more reasonable. So I think these are their battle, their battle whites, shall we say? And I really liked them. I think it worked out really well.
And I want to make sure we talk about it later on. The higher rank folks have a specific ornamentation armor on one shoulder. We see a character later on who has that ornamentation on both shoulders, and love to speculate a little bit about that.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit, but we're not there yet. Instead, let's hang out with Nynaeve, who magically fits the same costume the Soldan was wearing, even though she's like, several inches shorter, but it's fine. We're not going to question that. It's a show.
Little stitch, little tuck. She's a wisdom.
Yep, exactly. And Elaine comes up, fixes her makeup just a little bit, and is like, all right, Nynaeve's ready to get her to tell her everything she knows about the kennels. And leaves it at that, which I think was impressive to just kind of like drop that moment. I
want to make one callback to our podcast on the previous episode. We were wondering about what they're going to do with the scars or the ritual scarring that the Soldan seem to have on their face, and then there's makeup as well there. So. In the heat of battle, I guess you don't really need to be that convincing. The outfits just were enough, but they didn't go for the full look here.
Yep.
Yeah. There was nobody to stop them. Everything was chaotic anyway.
Yeah, and even if it wasn't chaotic, I think it would have been like easy enough to just kind of like skip over it, because you're going to see the collar and bracelet.
Yeah.
Bits, and that's all that really matters. And like, maybe they're going undercover or something.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And then speaking of the kennels, we see Egwene sitting there on the bed, and Rhenna is like, all right, city's under attack. The Empress commands us to come, and we gotta take control. Everyone has been summoned. And Rhenna says, stand, and Egwene does not.
Yep.
And so Rhenna grabs her knife and is like, grabs the knife and puts it against Egwene's tongue and is just like, do you know what happens to a Damane that doesn't follow instructions? They lose their tongue, and the second time, they lose their hands. And, hey, what you gonna do? And guess what? Egwene stands up, and Rhenna replaces the knife with the little stopper of the Damane, and then flips her around and says, "Perhaps it would hurt more if I take this," and chops off her hair. This hair that's been giving her so much strength and comfort. Dang you, Rhenna, for recognizing that comfort that Egwene was having.
Yeah. That was so sad and devastating, because Egwene just it hurt her more.
Yep.
Having that done than all the physical things that Rhenna had done to her in the previous episodes.
And as just a reminder, that braid is a callback to season 1. The very opening women's circle ceremony, the braid is how all women are supporting each other. They are entwined together. They are each other's strength. And that was symbolic for Egwene. She was not alone. She had the strength of her people behind her. And Rhenna seemed to understand this and just ruthlessly chopped it off.
Yep.
You know what? Egwene looks good with short hair.
Yeah, super cute. And it's long enough to.
I love how hastily shorn hair in shows always turns out into a cute too. But
right. I mean, to be fair though, it ends up getting tied back anyways, and which can we? Okay, real quick, can we discuss how long braiding like that takes? That is an extensive amount of time to do those perfectly tied braids. And the fact that they do it so quickly, I mean, I get, it's movie magic, yada, 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 but I just want to put a call out.
They know a one power weave for it. Get it? A weave!
Oh, sorry. My gosh. Wow. So mad props to the hair team. Which obviously with their as I've learned from conversations with the hair director person, about 90% of the actors are wearing wigs.
Oh, okay.
Rand is not one of them. That's like the only main character that is not wearing a wig. Everyone else is wearing wigs, which just goes to show how impressive the wig makers are, especially with the braids. Because that's a lot of skin that shows off, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and somehow magically gets done super quickly. So well done. All right, let's hop over to the main part of the town, of the city of Falme, the main castle. I don't know what to call it. It's fine. Ishi's walking down the hallway, and here comes Fane in his fancy little do-do-do-do-do. Master, you called for me. And basically lets him know, hey, Lanfear's betrayed me. She's going to keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. I have to remove her from the board. But Fane is not going to be used to help take care of Lanfear so much as kind of help Ishi take care of Mat. Because they have a connection, a deep, deep connection with that dagger. And they want to manipulate Mat because they think that it feels like he's the easiest for them to manipulate, I think, to the dark. Mm-hmm. Especially with that comment in the previous episode that Ishi calls him, like he already owns him.
Through Min's visions, Ishamael knows exactly how he thinks Rand is going to die, and that is with the dagger wielded by Mat. And he basically says this to Fane. And so, it's interesting that Fane is able to relinquish the dagger, but I guess when you got the head of the Forsaken giving you orders, you give it your level best.
Yeah, and especially because it does it for the long. It'll help in the long run, I guess. But Fane waltzes into the cell with Mat. I was like, Mat Cawthon, my best and poorest customer. And draws out the dagger, unsheaths it, puts it on the table, and Mat just sits there and stares like, oh, he knows what's coming, and he looks like an addict who has just been presented with that thing of choice. I know. It's so sad, but
this is very much a One Ring type of thing. It's like, here's the evil, touch the evil.
Yup. But before we manipulate that, we're gonna hop over to Nynaeve, who is discovering the magic of the collar and bracelet, and is gonna make the Soldam, former Soldam, shall we say, give away all of the secrets. We learned a little bit more about the collar and how it works, and Nynaeve says that she can feel her in my mind, a bundle of sensations, and all I have to do is push. And that, like, deep connection with this broken person, like, it feels really like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Like, because it feels really like Nynaeve is going harder than I think Elaine was hoping, but is managing to pull it together, I think.
Yeah, Elaine looks like she's very uncomfortable. And, you know, and it just shows how good her character is. Having her, you know, royal upbringing shows her that you can't do bad things because that makes you just as bad as the people who did it. So you can tell that she's a little bit uncomfortable with how far Nynaeve does take it.
Yeah. But also doesn't
she
stop
doesn't
it.
like it, but
Doesn't stop it.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't stop her. She knows enough to say, okay, well, we're in a desperate situation, and I mean, I may find this distasteful, but it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Elaine is communicating a lot of her sort of savvy and wisdom just by what she does and doesn't do. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been awesome so far.
Yep. Absolutely amazing. All right. So we now see Rand sneaking into the city, wrapped in a cloak. A team of Shanshan warriors kind of hang out on top, running away to their spots, and Rand sees Egwene marching with the other like the rest of the Soldam and Damani that weren't already going wherever they were going. Perfect timing. So Rand knows where Egwene is going. And we see Mat again with the knife. And Fane can see that shadow in him, to see the darkest part of your soul, to accept them, to embrace them. Well, that's real strength, Mat. Come on, we know you're not a hero. Like, we're gonna just, Fane is manipulating Mat in the way that he knows how. So well, and Matt's just
by
like, I'm
negging
not gonna
him.
touch it. Yeah, right. The opposite of love bombing. Matt is like, I'm not gonna touch it, and Fane is like, I think you will. Long enough in this room with just your thoughts and that dagger, you deserve it, Mat. And whistles and leaves, and once again, Mat is just staring like an addict at the knife again.
Gosh, poor Mat. He's been through so much this season.
Ugh. Poor guy.
But it pays off.
It so pays off.
It does so beautifully. But another pay. I can't segue. We're just gonna go back. We're in the big beach scene. And Lan and Moiraine are starting to walk to Falme. And
the longest walk on a beach ever.
Right?
Two characters in a show.
Right. Seriously. And Lan wants the bond again. He never asked for the bond to be released. Stop pretending, Moiraine. I think you're afraid. You don't want me to know how afraid you feel, overwhelmed, because then you'll need to accept it. And we learned that Maureen, in fact, was able to say that Lan was not her equal, because you have always been my better.
Which is what I said.
Yep.
I think
we called it.
Called it.
Most people speculated that this would be the case. That was her lie, or this was how she managed to say that. And yes, it's all very sweet. And what I did like is that after all of these sort of almost bowing and scraping and said, sorry, I didn't do my duty of correcting you. But Lan actually confronts Moiraine, makes her admit that, she's afraid. Yeah, she's winging it. Yeah, she's doesn't know what to do next, and he's there to say, I'm with you. I don't even know what you're going to do next, but I've got your back. We are partners in this. Let's go back to that. And that is so, you know, what people, when people talk about seasons and kind of screenwriter structures, they talk about sort of what are the initial problems that you start with, and what are the solutions to the problems that you end with. And I think what we got in the beginning of this season was schism all over the place. We had a schism between Moiraine and Lan. We had the Two Rivers Five scattered all in different places, not wanting to be with each other for various reasons, sending each other's letters and saying, oh, yeah, we should get together, but, you know, we're probably not going to do that anytime soon. It'll be a year. But hopefully we can spend bell time together. And what we're starting to see is a coming together. And those are always such rewarding moments in an ensemble show, especially, where you have all these different characters going in different plot threads, and it's going to converge, and it's wonderful. In this case, it's also an emotional healing.
Yeah. And we see, this is one of the only bits that kind of pauses in this episode that has this connection, this moment of stillness in the action as the weave wraps around the two of them and solidifies that bond again. It's kind of a pause before the storm, a moment before the storm, and it was a really poignant moment before we rush back into the chaos.
No, and I love this scene because it was very intimate. And in season 1, we see that they're in the bathtub together without any sort of sexual tension. And I think this was the same. Like the way they put their foreheads together, it's so tender and so loving, but so platonic.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's a good observation, because we started the season also with Moiraine crying alone in a bathtub, which was the callback to the episode in the first season, and now you described it perfectly, Maureen. This is a moment of intimacy. It's quiet intimacy between two friends who've gone through a hell of a lot and had a really weird falling out. Which, I'll admit I didn't buy it completely, but let's put it down to Moiraine being traumatized by what she thinks of as being stilled, which ended up not being that. And so Lan did the one thing that he needed to do this season in order to regain that trust. He took that piece of trauma that she was enduring and reversed it. He figured it out. I thought it was weird that he would be the one to figure it out. Because just, I would always joke, Lan, he's an expert in channeling and all of his research. But thematically, he had to be the one to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it works. Like, we talked about it a little bit, that it kind of was weird that Lan was able to kind of magically pull this out of, his butt, basically, to just make it happen. And I think it's important to be able to say, hey, there's a reason that he was able to do this for the plot, and that's because he cares so much about Moiraine. He cares so much about what happens and how to make it right, and also unselfishly wants to have this moment to be like, look, I need to be part of this bond, not just because I want the better strength and power and speed and blah 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 that I get from being a warder, but so that I can balance you. You just told me that, I was your greater. Yeah. Let's embrace this. Let's let me help you.
And isn't that a cool sort of parallelism with Ishamael and Lanfear saying, I balance you.
I know, right? Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good balance. It's a good balance.
So whether good or bad, you need somebody who balances you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which
All
is
right,
another theme of the Wheel of Time. But,
exactly. And it's ready for the segue? Here we go. The balance of the calmness and that stillness that you see with this rebonding is then completely, exploded because we have chaos in the city. And the other side of stillness is chaos. And here we go, because the ABC maidens and Perrin come in looking for the Ogier. Perrin's just like, are you sure? And the maidens are just kind of rolling their eyes like, duh, we got this. Like, the stupid Wetlander. They find each other because here comes Ingtar and Masema and Loial, and they found the horn. Hooray! But they also had help. A lady from Cairhien. Lanfear, maybe?
yeah, she seems to be doing a lot of things here. Yeah.
A lot of back-end things for sure going on.
So Lanfear is definitely playing her own game, and we'll see more of that. But so there was probably a cutting room floor scene somewhere where Lady Selene guided Ingtar and Loial into getting Turak's horn. But there's so much happening in this episode that it's fine. They got it.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Help.
Yeah, like I like it. I like that they didn't need to see this. Like, most of the time I'm like, show don't tell, but this was a time where we didn't need it to be shown. Like,
we know it wasn't guarded.
Things. Yeah.
So it would have been like, oh, let's go in and grab it and then leave. That wouldn't have been exciting.
Right? Yeah. Right. Especially because we know that this was way better, especially for, whether or not you know who the lady from Cairhien is. Like, we know it's Lanfear just because we pay attention, and like that makes sense, but someone else maybe doesn't. So, oh, someone's helping. Okay, cool. Like, it opens that up a little bit differently than the option for showing it. Mm-hmm. And Ingtar wants them to just leave without Mistress Alvare, as Loial says, and Loial's like, no, like, what? Because we learn. Okay, this is a great scene where we learn what the heck the horn is. For people that don't know, like, this is the first time it's actually been mentioned what the horn does, and so it's great for the show only watchers to kind of understand why this is a big deal. And it's because they can get the heroes of the horn to come out and play and protect. And Loial is like, dude, what about the heroes of today? That is what we are now. We are all the heroes of another day's legend. I think it's time we start acting like it.
Great.
So freaking good. The writing is, once again, just amazing. And it's enough to get Ingtar to kind of like, okay, fine. Let's go get Egwene. Blah, blah, blah. He's really sad, but it works out. And it will work out even more. But not yet. We're back on top of the tower. Well, I guess not back on top because we haven't. This is the first time coming up, but we're at the top of the tower.
Yeah. This is where the Shan are assembling their Damani and their Soldoms so they can use the channeling to their best effect, as Gearfirm of Bornhald predicted. This is where you put your channelers when you want to have a fight. Yep. And now Rena and Egwene are there, and they're shooting some fireballs.
And Egwene has the look of death in her eyes at Rena and is just like, I don't want to do this. But then she kind of sees the white cloaks attacking and shouting to kill the witches. And
you know what? I can do this.
Yeah. Okay. And boy,
that's somebody
does she.
I can throw a fireball at. When she sees Valda.
Yep. She throws a heck of a fireball and is breathing really hard. And Rena says "good girl" in the way that I have said to my dog so many times, and with a smile, and it's just like just digs that dagger in of like
you
how
did that trick perfectly. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Just like a pat on the head, and it's just like oof. Heartbreaking. Let's go back now. Turak is angry about the horn being stolen and comes with his guards and the voice, and they're gonna try and find the horn. They're marching out, except there's somebody in the way.
Cloaked figure. We had speculated on this moment in the show because we've read the books, we know what happens there, but we speculated, how is this confrontation going to happen? Because Rand hasn't learned the sword from Lan. He's learned it from this other guy, Errol, but not well enough for sure. So, and Turak says, okay, hey, you've got a heron-marked sword. Let's see what it takes to earn the heron on this side of the ocean, because he's got one too. And he, with his big long nails, he draws his sword. He does all this crazy flourishing, and Rand pulls an Indiana Jones from when we had the big swordsman, and Indiana Jones just draws his gun and shoots him.
Yeah.
So this Rand is not afraid to channel.
No.
He's here to do some damage, and he just goes ahead and shoots fire and kills everybody but the voice.
Yeah, he has enough control to not kill what he sees as a potential innocent, which I think is really interesting. But unfortunately, the voice says, from birth to death, I serve the light, and unalives himself. And Rand is just like, okay, and just kind of keeps walking. Let me find Egwene. Well, because that's why Rand attacks too. Is he says, you people did this to her, and he wants revenge.
Yeah. And in I'm sure we'll save this for the book section, so maybe I'll just hold on to that. But it's not a sense of pride for him. Like, he just wants to get to Egwene as fast as he can.
Yep.
Yeah. He's on a mission, definitely.
Yeah. Like, I don't care how I get to where I need to get to her.
Yep. And we hop away from that, and we see the maidens are leading the way through, little side streets. They're using their epic attention bits to know, like, when soldiers are coming, when a horse is going to be coming, dragging someone behind, like, to keep them moving forward, basically. And Inktar says, one man could hold 50 here. Perrin says there's no need for that. Just a little bit of a foreshadowing, because here comes Shanshin. And this moment of battle. One person doesn't actually hold the group for very long before, like, he shouts for them to go and starts attacking, and then he pretty much immediately gets 2 spears stabbed in the back. Like, I don't know. That felt a little weird.
It felt strange. This was, we'll talk about the book part, but I think they did if this was a budgetary thing, they did some smart stuff here, because so this could have been one of those giant armies clashing shots in a big budget movie, but they accomplished the same sort of thing by having it close quarter fighting in the streets. And, where you don't have a zillion extras to put in armor and wield swords and spears and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they managed to capture the chaos of battle and the unpredictability of it in close quarters by just moving it into the streets.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
I almost wish, like, they had like even done a like cutting away from the scene real quick, like, and moving to someone else before coming back, like
just to show that Ingtar actually did something,
right? Because they didn't even like get very far. Like it felt like this is one of the only criticisms in the show in this episode for me, was it felt like a waste. Like if they had all taken this group together, they could have gotten them all and then continued on in less time, I think. Like it just was it was sad.
Yeah, because without spoilers, there is an Ingtar moment, and this was probably the adaptation of this was the adaptation of that moment, and it wasn't a very big moment.
But that's okay.
Everyone's got their favorite characters.
Yep. And speaking of somewhat favorite characters, Moiraine and Lan are walking. They're walking faster. Lan recognizes
still on the beach.
You're faster than you used to be, and it feels like running without buckets on my back. And then we learn a little bit more about the Forsaken and kind of how that happens.
So here's a little foreshadowing. Lan muses, so why didn't Ishamael free the others? And the idea is that, well, they're too dangerous even to each other. They used to fight amongst each other as much as they fought anyone else. So, as far as minions go, they're not the most reliable of minions, and they have their own plans, and they will just get in each other's way, cause chaos, and Ishamael's trying to control events. He freed Lanfear because she was a lever he could use, or he thought he could use, against Rand. But that was a very selective and strategic move. Freeing all of the Forsaken, not a great move. That's a move you do when you just want to nuke the earth and leave scorched earth everywhere.
Yep.
But then we learn that there may be a reason why these two were out there, and that's that Lanfear, Ishamael, and Lews Therin were best friends. And Lan goes, just like these kids. And I don't know why the word kids jarred me a little bit. But it did.
I think probably because in the books, we know that they aged them up for the show.
Yeah.
And so it feels weird to think of them as kids. But they're kids, especially, the level of like what happened with like the escorting them, these naive village kids coming into the world, and so it makes sense that they call them kids. But it did feel a little strange.
Even the choice of that word just seemed off in the vernacular, but I have no evidence for why.
I mean, it's like the name Tiffany. Tiffany doesn't feel like it should be, it feels like a modern name, but it's like right. Old.
It's actually an ancient name.
Yeah. Like it's been around forever. There's a CGP Grey video on it on YouTube that I highly recommend. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this. But speaking of the third in that trio, Lanfear waltzes up to Bael Doman, who is packing up his stuff. I love how he was holding the lid of his bag in his teeth and just kind of looks over at Lanfear. Like this physical comedy moment, like it made an impact on me in particular. Just like, okay, here's a you can breathe a little bit here. Like this is, this episode has really good moments of like, okay, we're going to take a couple steps up. The action is heightening. Okay, now we're going to take a little moment to breathe. Now we're going to take a little bit up. Here, Lanfear is going to come and be like, hey, you remember that Quindliar I sold you. Well, how about 6 more? You can't actually break them. I'm just going to pay you to, like, throw them in the ocean.
Yeah.
Cool?
So that is, I think, our most overt sign that Lanfear is maybe not completely aligned with the dark, or at least is working towards her own purposes. Because if the remaining 6 seals are basically Ishamael's nukes, she's getting rid of all of them.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want any competition for the Dark One and the power. Like, she knows how to manage Ishi, but the rest of them are probably a little bit of a chaotic bit, maybe. She doesn't quite know how to handle them, and so she's going to do what she can to handle them when they are not able to be to put up a fight.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If she's on the side of the dark, these are the next 6 lieutenants of the dark, and she is completely sabotaging them, which is completely in keeping with what Maureen and Lan were discussing about the Forsaken. But wow, that is... you would think that would be a punishable offense when you serve the Dark Lord or the Great Lord.
He encourages that.
Yeah.
But also, this is Lanfear in Lady Selene outfit, so that I think further shows us that it was her that helped Loyal get the horn.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's this interesting dualism that is emerging with her character, where she is almost 2 different people. Selene and Lanfear are a bit different, and there's kind of this war going on between them in terms of motivation, and I think how that plays out is going to be really interesting to watch.
Yes.
Yeah, her loyalties will be tested further.
Yep. Yep. So we move on to the betrayer of hope that's been betrayed by the daughter of the night. In Suroth's chambers, Ishi comes in, wiping off his hands, which
dusty hands.
Dusty
He's been
hands.
Doing something.
He's been breaking something, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, this is totally after he released the rest of the Forsaken. Spoiler for the end of the show. Which you've seen if you are hearing this, except for our poor editor. Thank you, Sam, for all of the work that you've done being spoiled for the show to edit this podcast.
It was such a nice little thing because, that's where my mind went first as we were seeing that. But, we'd just seen Lanfear say, okay, I'm going to steal all of these seals and I'm going to drop them in the ocean because that's going to take away some of Ishamael's power. And here goes Ishamael, who is not to be outsmarted. At least not yet.
And in my first watch through, I didn't guess that's what happened. I recognized it as a beat of what was coming, but I didn't. It wasn't until I saw them cracked at the end that I was like, oh, that's what he was doing. Obviously, my second one, I was like, okay, I like the connection. But there's a lot of things that I miss in the first watches because I'm not very good at that kind of thing. So,
well, for me, it was purely fueled by wishful thinking because, if we're told that there are 6 more nukes, I want to see those nukes launched.
Yep. I can see that. I can see that for sure. Well, Suroth is angry at Ishi because she wants to be on top of the tower. She wants to have the glory now that Turak is dead. And Ishi's like, wait, Turak's dead? What? And now you know that Lanfear has actually betrayed, which is funny because first off, he's already said that he's like, Ishi and Lanfear have already had the conversation that they're going to betray each other. Like, this is not a surprise.
Right.
obviously Ishi has already broken open the rest of the Forsaken, and yet is still shocked that the horn is stolen and Turak doesn't have it. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
This is one of those moments that came sooner than I was expecting, but for reasons of the conclusion needed to come now, is that we really see the Forsaken taken down a bunch of pegs. They seem like they're gods, demigods. They seem like they're all-knowing, all-controlling. They're, on top of things. They've orchestrated stuff for centuries. Here's where Ishamael is showing his frustration that he is not in control of events.
Yes.
And that is a really interesting sort of twist, especially as we go forward in the story. Rand and his friends are probably a match. Not yet, not in knowledge, maybe not yet in power, but these aren't nigh omnipotent demigods that they're facing.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that adds another level of humanity that we're looking.
That is so true.
We enjoy. Yeah. And Sarath is still angry that she can't be, she isn't being used for this big battle, but there's a reason, and that's because Ishi wants a group of Damane held in reserve and wait for the signal. And the moment where Ishi says they know how to gentle a man, and Sarath's like, her physicality in this scene in particular was really incredible. Like, she kind of like pushes her head back on the neck to be like, of course, like, how dare you even ask? Of course my Damane know how to, like, gentle a man. And then they look at each other and just kind of, as Ishi leaves, Sarath and Alwyn look at each other just like, like, it felt very Bond villain.
Yeah, well, what I thought is, Sarath might be thinking, we can gentle one man or we can gentle another. It doesn't matter because she's shown that she will stand up to Ishamael.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's smart. Smart. That's a good thought. We haven't checked in with our boy Mat for a while.
Yay, Mat.
Hey, Mat. He's checking out, still staring at the dagger, but then it's almost like he gets a spark of an idea and starts like this great little montage of like, I'm gonna pull this, I'm gonna do a little of that, like, let's do this, and manages to get the dagger on the ground and ties it to the end of a stick, without touching it, and then has this moment of like, okay, here we go, and uses the dagger to melt the lock. And you switch to the other side. Fane's hanging out, and then he sees the dagger like setting fire to the lock, and it's just like, an hour.
You didn't last an hour, yeah.
I thought surely you'd last longer than that before you touched it, and then is like, ah, shit. Because Mat shows the whole spear with the dagger on the end. And it's like, I've spent more than my fair share of time in a cell, you see. And I've learned that there is usually more than one way out of it. Stabs the guard, and Fane's like, ah! Runs screaming, very like Looney Tunes-esque, shouting for the guards. And here comes a group of guards, and Mat runs away. I thought this bit of Fane was just so funny. How quickly he turned from oh dang, I have been outsmarted. It was really neat,
and it was a cheeky little scene. And of course, we'll talk about it in the books. Book readers either erupted with cheers or screamed no. but it was Mat kind of improvising.
Yeah.
And, he stabs that lock. It reminded me of back in the Star Wars Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are using their lightsabers to just open blast doors and terrifying everyone.
Oh, right.
Inside.
Yes.
So, Mat's now wielding some serious power. It's a dark power. It's a power that's dangerous. He can't touch, but he's found a way to handle it in a way that he can still get away with it. So he's being his trickster self.
He's owning his personality, and I thought it was beautiful. It was really great. Less beautiful, of course, is the fireballs raining down from the tower, where Egwene is less excited to shoot people because there's all of these kids.
The civilian casualties. Yeah.
And it's just heartbroken, and it's so sad. And Renna's like, again, Egwene. But Egwene says, nope, I'm not gonna, and spits the stopper out and says no. The big boss lady is like, Renna, have you lost control of your demone? To which Renna says, no, I have not. And pulls out the knife. And they have an epic stare down.
It looks like she's going to try and cut off her hands, right?
Well, we don't know that yet because she just pulls the dagger, and so we think maybe the first in my mind, anyways. I was like, oh, it's going to be the first step of let's do the tongue.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yep, but too late because we get back to Nynaeve with Elaine and the Soldamane. Maybe we'll call them that. They're getting through the chaos of battle, but they found the tower. Except, wait, did you hear that? Was a sound that you hear, and you see these trebuchets kind of throwing rocks. And then it goes, and you see Egwene kneeling with her hands out, and Renna has the knife, and they're in the middle of this little cover bit because Renna is about to cut off her hands. Except the rock saves the day, shall we say, by basically knocking everyone flat. I like that they had, by having Renna and Egwene in the middle, you can see why they survived, or they will survive in the future, and I like that location changes, so that was really neat. But we don't see that yet, because instead we're going to jump back to the White Cloaks, and Dane is ecstatic because it's actually working. And Jeffram is like, did you not trust in the light? And then calls in the civilians and be like, let's protect Falme.
Yeah, this was really interesting. And, they definitely see themselves as the heroes of this story. But I think another thing that is a change from the books is that these White Cloaks know how to fight channelers.
Yeah.
They have a strategy for it. They're using technologies that are kind of like the One Power, but are not. So they're using catapults. They're using choir boys with with smoke to cover them.
Crossbow
they're doing all
bolts.
Of these things. Yeah. So they are ready to fight. And they're a military organization that knows how to counteract channelers. And this is, if the Shan Shan remain a big force in this story, this is a legitimate counterbalance to them.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yep. But speaking of crossbow bolts, a crossbow kills the demone that Nynaeve is controlling, I guess, shall we say?
Connected to?
Yeah. And then they just sit there and let Elaine get a crossbow bolt in the leg.
Through the leg,
right.
yeah.
I don't know if this was meant to be shorter period of time or what, but nobody reacted. This was the second little moment of like, what? It took me out just a tiny bit. But I'm gonna guess that it was just like a period of time, like a mind like slowing down a little bit, because it was just like they would have, you would have thought that they would have actually like ducked instead of just staring there like, what?
Yeah.
I think on my second viewing, I felt like it was just part of the chaos of battle and that kind of thing. Like you don't react instantaneously when everything is going on around you. But they also had another kind of revelation / distraction that when their captive Suldam was killed, the Adam basically fell off. It disconnects. It shrinks back into its original form, and it falls off the body. This is how you get rid of that connection. This is how you get rid of an Adam, and unfortunately, it requires death, at least as far as we've seen.
Yes. Yeah. But it was a great little bit of knowledge dumping there right before we hop up to the top of the tower, where Egwene drags herself out from underneath, part of the little gazebo thing that was on top of the tower. You can see that she was basically kicked across the tower, but that everyone else is dead. Even though one person apparently just now died while Egwene's staring at her, and you see the collar.
I think that was Megan, wasn't it?
I think it was too.
Yeah,
I wasn't 100% sure, but we know now Megan is dead.
Yeah, it's so sad. I was hoping they'd be able to free some of the trapped Aes Sedai, because we didn't see Rima at all.
That's right.
No, which I'm hoping means that she will be released. Like, she'll be saved.
I'm hoping she's going to swim ashore.
Yeah. Because she wasn't on the boat that we saw, so I bet she's probably still in the kennels.
Yeah, still in training.
Yeah.
They need to break her first.
She's not trustworthy enough to go and fight, because she was just captured. So I hope we get to see her released. That would be a good...
So that's actually a good question. How long do you think Egwene has spent as a Damani? Because she's now throwing big fireballs and things like that. So I'm assuming that she's had a lot of combat training by now, but I'm not quite sure how much time has passed.
Yeah, I think it's probably been like a couple weeks, maybe. I'm trying to think of like time judgment, like things of time, like how to guess it, because
because it does become important a little bit later this episode, and there's a scene a little later where that only makes sense if she's had a lot of training at this point.
Yeah, I think though, if you look into it, this idea that they need to train as quickly as they can, and so they're going to spend 12 to 14 hours a day doing this hardcore training, because they don't necessarily care about like sanity or like brain space, and so they're just gonna go as hardcore as they can. And so I think that there's enough training that could be had in whatever period of time. It's probably been a couple weeks, I would say, but I'm not sure. Maybe we can find out. Rafe, if you're listening, let us know. We'll add that to the list of things to ask.
Definitely.
But definitely she's had enough training. For a reason that we'll see in the future too.
Yeah.
But Rena also pops out of the rubble, and takes off her little jacket, her insect jacket, and stares at Egwene. But there's a moment of pause, like, let's switch over, because now Perrin and Loyal, and Masema, and the maidens are coming through. They're getting ready, they're being ready. And they see someone coming, and it's Mat. It's our buddy Mat coming in, and Perrin manages to get the maidens to not shoot him. Good. And they have
get a big hug.
Yeah. They have another reunion scene, and once again, this moment of connection just made me feel so happy to see them together.
Yeah. And it's the payoff to the season, right?
Yes.
It's, the question is, will these guys ever come back together? Because they need to come back together. They are each other's strengths, and the answer is, of course, yes. That's the satisfying answer.
Yes.
And the fact that they're not holding it against Mat that he left, they're not gonna snub him or give him the silent treatment. They even tell him to
go, and he says, "No, I'm not leaving you."
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. And Matt's like, "Oh wait, who in Light's name are these people?" And Baron's just like, "They're friends." I hope your friends can fight. Don't worry, they can.
Right? I know.
And then, sure enough, they can.
Yeah. And Matt kind of comes in kind of like bumbling into this scene, like he's and almost like comic relief. It seems like everybody else there is ready to fight, and Matt's just like kind of haphazardly runs into them, and then haphazardly is given this thing and like told to rush off instead of battling. And I don't know, it just seemed really funny to me that he was like, oh, bumbling.
Yeah.
Well, that's his style, right? He's
right.
good chaos. He's beneficial chaos.
Yeah, I really liked. I like how it worked. I thought it worked really well, and added that little bit of lightheartedness, especially because we're now going to switch back to Rena, who is understandably angry. Is like, the tower was hit from our position. You did this, and like punishes Egwene, who's like doing the weird spasming thing, but then she stands up and slaps the collar around Rena.
It fell off of Megan when she died.
Yep, she grabbed that, and Rena's laughing. "Oh, stupid Egwene. The Adam only works on women who can channel." And then it turns into the collar, like the true collar. And we learn a little bit more about channeling and a little bit of exposition of like, hey, we're the same. And then Egwene like really like digs the metaphorical knife in, because like, you Soldum are just so weak in the power the searchers didn't find you. And yeah, it's harsh.
Yeah, and now the rule still applies where if you try to hurt a Soldum, the Damani takes double the pain unto death. So now it's a question of who can endure the more pain.
Right.
And this is where we get to see the fulfillment of just how strong Egwene is, not only as a channeler but as a person.
Yeah, because she takes Rena and hooks her up just like she was hooked up, and is just standing there. You can see, man, the acting in this is just incredible, because you can see the fact that Egwene is holding it together, is clearly in pain, is clearly like having a hard time, but is not going to drop. Like, is absolutely going to hold on to it, and like is forcing Rena to let her go first. And it gets tighter and tighter, more pressure. Rena's like, okay, fine, and like gets the takes off her wristband bracelet thing.
Her bracelet of the Adam.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
Yes.
It can be done. You can release someone.
Yep. And the collar drops off, and Egwene just stands there and watches her die. And that moment where she takes off her own bracelet, the collar drops off, like separates, she's dead. She turns her back on the body and like then has her breakdown. And I'm so glad that they showed this part, like this moment of she did what she had to do to get to this point to survive, but still has the moment to break, to
yeah
release that tension, let out those emotions.
Yep, just as Rand comes up out of the cloud behind her.
I'd come to save you, but I guess I don't need to.
Yeah.
A good acknowledgement. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, no, definitely good.
Yeah, so we're back in the battle, the chaos of the battle, the maidens and Masema against the Shanshan, while Perrin and Mat and Loial make it to the tower. So ABCM are protecting the back, while the Oyer and the Two Rivers is people's get to the tower. And Mat says, "Hey, Rand's alive. He's got shit hair, but he's alive," which I loved. And they know they got to get the horn to Rand al'Thor, but they can't open it.
They can't open the box. It's a puzzle box that Turak knew how to open by doing the levers. But,
no one else does, but that's okay because there's a dagger.
Matt's got a new dagger staff.
Yeah. They take a lot of shortcuts, you know, like with Rand killing everybody with the power and Matt just stabbing this thing with a knife.
Yeah. Right.
It's very Alexander Great and the Great and the Gordian knot. We don't need skill when we have strength.
Yes. And they're using their brain, which, you kind of have to do when you're in this series, where you only have 8 episodes to try and get stuff done. Let's just get it done in a really epic way to show this little, the horn is revealed.
And it's a weird looking little thing.
It's so weird.
It's very weird.
It's so weird.
Kathy, you called it a hedgehog? Yeah,
it looked like a hedgehog spoiler for, well, I guess when this comes out, it's not a spoiler, but I designed a new shirt that is going up in our shop. You can get to at shop.dragonmount.com. And I'm going to probably put it on like notebooks and whatever else y'all think that you would like. So leave a comment if you like this type of stuff.
I'm going to get one.
Yeah. So it's the quote from Loial that says, we are all the heroes in someone else's in another day's legend, or whatever the exact quote is. Don't worry, the shirt will have the exact quote. I just never pulled it up right now. Which meant that I had to draw the horn. And I decided for the final thing to switch it upside down in the way that it is in the box, as opposed to how Matt in the future of this episode will blow it, because it looks too much like a hedgehog with the little slices for the horn. So, yeah, it looks less like a hedgehog when it's the other direction, I personally think. So, yeah. But back at the top of the tower, Egwene is like, how? Why? This is where Rand says he's come to save her. Looks like he didn't need it. Yeah. I'm sorry, I should have told you.
Because she thought he was dead.
Yep.
Except for that dream.
The dream that she had, which would make sense that she also probably thought he was dead, and that's why she was dreaming of him, because he was dead. But then Ishi comes and is like, "Oh, in the flesh this time. Welcome." So I don't know if Lanfear told the story, or if this is proof that it was actually Ishi in the dream with Lanfear. I don't really know exactly, but it doesn't matter, because Egwene starts to get mad, immediately knows that this is the Forsaken, and with just a little flick of his hand, Ishi sends her flying. Yeah. And then flicks again and knocks Rand over and sets the signal for the Damane to set multiple Damane to come together and bind Rand.
So these are the Surath's ships.
Yep.
And the Damane are all arrayed on board, and they've been waiting for his signal. and apparently they don't need to see him. They just channel their shield.
That he's I bet they can see it enough or something. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
It's
they can do it. Doesn't matter.
It happens. That's how it works. But there's enough of them to be able to gentle him when the time comes.
That'll be the next signal that Ishamael will send. But first he has to gloat.
Right? Has this moment.
It's a downfall of every bad guy. The gloat moment.
You gotta gloat.
Yeah. You tried to be so honorable, so proud, so perfect. I'm not Lews Therin. Maybe next time it'll be different. Like, okay.
The One Woman Show by Kathy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you. Snaps. And then we have Sarath, who's on the boat, is shouting, hold the shield on him till we get the signal, and then we gentle him, and has this look of evil, absolute look of evil. But then we have this moment of Ishi, who's like, I don't want to do this again. I don't think you do either. A flashback to the prologue again. And it's just like...
And by the way, this is where I thought Lanfear was going to materialize on the deck and have them switch targets who they gentled. But that didn't happen.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Instead, Ishi's landing these painful twists of the virtual knife because it's talking about, like, look, you abandoned Egwene. Just like you, like all these people that you love, you're getting rid of, like, just like you did in your past life, just like you did to me. Just like absolutely trying to get him ready to come to the dark in a weird way. I don't really know.
But well, that's the thing. I think this shows something that the show set up earlier this episode, that this is all premature. This was his speech, or this was going to be his speech, but Rand hasn't really betrayed anyone. And he's even saying, I know in 1,000 lifetimes I have not done that. You're right. I know who I am. Yeah. And he was not brought down. Rand, he didn't have enough time to break Rand. And so now he says, well, just like before, if we don't do this lifetime, I guess we're going to have to do it another lifetime. So you're going to have to die. Yeah. And then they fight.
And Mat has the horn. Perrin tells him to leave and take it to Rand. And Mat says he's not going to leave Perrin, which was such a great moment. I love that moment. And Perrin says, none of this matters if Rand doesn't have that. You're his only hope. Go, we'll buy you some time. And I was just like, oh, what a great, like, permission for Mat to run and help save everybody. And so the battle continues again. Perrin and Dane see each other and acknowledge Dane. 2 rivers? What? And then Mat runs. Elaine back, still shot by the crossbow bolt. Nynaeve still stressed out, crying. Actually sees Mat running by. It's like, oh, okay. And Elaine's trying to, like, walk Nynaeve through how to channel. And Nynaeve is like, I can't. It's either there or it's not.
And then I really like this because then Elaine gets to her, like, what would you do if you were a wisdom?
Not yet.
Like, even
not yet.
Oh, not yet? Oh, sorry.
I know. It's okay. This is a very, like... Because that's that only bit. The only bit right there is like, it's either there or it's not. And then we flash over. We see Valda. Like, the chaos fight is again. The white cloaks are mixed in with the good guys and the Shanshan. And Valda sees Perrin and is like, now we'll find out what you really are. And tackles, and he's forced to the ground and got a knife to his head. And Perrin sees an axe and tries to reach it, but instead Hopper comes and saves the day.
Oh, yay, Hopper.
Yay, Hopper. And totally, like, ruining Valda, but then Jeffram comes in and kills him, which killed me. I was very glad that the blood was redder than other blood that we had seen. Like, it helped it feel like that little bit of fakeness almost. Like, it helped it feel better to deal with. Because then not only is Hopper dead, but we're going to have this freaking moment where they're making eye contact with each other. And then he's going to have one last vision of Hopper flying into the air. Like, oh my gosh. So one of the pictures I posted on Twitter telling people to gird your loins was from this. I cried actual tears, and the second time that I watched it, I could not watch it. I was sitting here, I'm typing my stuff because I could not. The moment, the very good boy, the bestest boy, and it made Perrin's eyes turn yellow, gold for good, and then he stalks out, and he sees Jephram, and he just takes the axe and absolutely murders Daddy Bornhold. Then we flinch back
in front of Dane. Right?
Yeah, in front of Dane.
Yeah. Two rivers. What are you
not
doing?
yet, though.
Oh, okay.
Dane doesn't see it. I know. Listen, I have very specific notes, so we can try and keep track of it all. We'll get there. But now,
well, this scene with Hopper though was difficult. Like you said, Kathy, it's very emotional. But there is that website, Does the Dog Die, where you can Google, you know, to see it, and that sometimes makes me not watch something if the dog dies. I mean, so I wish it hadn't been so visual. I wish it could have happened off screen because that can just be so triggering.
This is supposed to have an impact. Hopper was fridged, but
killing the people, I don't care. But as soon as the animals are hurt, it's like, nope.
Right?
They killed a horse here. They killed a dog.
Right, and even that was difficult too.
Yeah, it absolutely destroyed me. Absolutely destroyed. And like, book readers knew that it was probably going to come, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was absolutely emotional.
Well, let's move on from that.
Speaking of emotional, how about we get Mat having his triumphant moment because he's going to come up. He's at the top on one of those little like pathway things, and there's a huge group of Shanshan who are just kind of standing there. I don't know if they were meaning to like be a reserve crowd or like. Listen, forget everything else in everything. Why were they just standing there? Why were they staring at, like, they were staring to the side? Like this, okay, it's fine. It works for the same.
They're guarding the tower where all the Soldam and Damani are, because we know that...
Oh, that's true.
Damani are kind of like currency. They're priceless. So, it makes sense for them.
They're the major... combat force there, so they're the warders.
Okay, okay, that makes more sense. I get it. So Mat comes up and is just like, "Oh shit, what am I gonna do?" Kind of looks back and forth and is like, "All right, well, I'm gonna have to," and blows the horn.
Yes.
As the Shanshan are coming, and everything goes into this truly incredibly epic slow motion bit. So you have the Shanshan running. You've got, Perrin is murdering Daddy Bornhold. You've got Elaine and Nynaeve crying over the crossbow bolt. Egwene is just waking up. Rand is being tortured, like not actually tortured, but like kneeling.
Shielded.
Yeah. And you just have this moment and you see like the music gets really soft and kind of mournful as smoke comes up behind. You see Mat is moving in regular time and he says, "I remember." And then he smiles and all of the heroes step out of the smoke as they're all wearing clearly different. They're from different generations. There's different eras
of time.
Yeah.
Cultures.
And it's Uno too.
Oh my gosh, yes! That was such a triumphant moment.
Oh my gosh, especially like I had just been bawling for Hopper, so I still had plenty of tears available. So tears of joy.
Yes.
Seeing Uno, especially because does Mat know Uno?
No.
No.
Yeah, they didn't have...
And they don't react to each other.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Which I think almost made
purely
it...
for us.
Yep, more special. More special. And Mat turns around and is like, the heroes of the Horn. I am one of you. And who we're thinking is...
Hawkwing.
Archer.
Yeah,
Who has
Hawkwing.
the two shoulder armor things that the White Cloaks wear.
Yep. Is like, I have fought by your side, times behind number. Fight with us once more. And Mat's like, okay, and hands the horn to the lady. Who do we think the lady is?
I don't know who that was.
It is a... I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, but wearing the most incredible outfit. Absolutely. Just gorgeous. And it makes the horn like disappear. I don't know where it goes
Sleight of
or
hand there.
what,
Yeah.
but that's cool. We'll find it in the future. And Uno is just like, well, let's just not feckin' stand here. And you get a path through where we see some other heroes. Epic.
Hero on the horn to hero of the horn.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like Eddie. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for Twitter of Time to see this moment because there have been, if you're not familiar, the only reason I personally am on Twitter is because of the Twitter of Time group. It's very strong on Twitter. And there's been a Twitter, like, what do you do where you get signatures for things?
Oh, petitions.
Yeah, petitions to have Uno come back as a hero of the Horn. And so the fact that he does is going to be amazing. It's everyone's going to be so excited. So then Mat screams something in the old tongue. Are we thinking it's the time to toss the die thing, or anyone recognize?
Time to toss the dice.
Okay.
I can't pronounce it in the old tongue.
Yep.
But yeah.
Nope. Hopefully the captions will say something when we watch it on the real show. And then they start, like, time catches up and they start fighting. And each of the heroes kind of has this little, like, smoky bit around them when they're fighting, which is really cool.
Yeah, like shadow, like, I don't know, like from a video game or something.
Yeah. I like how they did
blur.
it. Yeah, it was really cool, which I'm going to guess means that they can't die, maybe? I don't know, because Uno gets a little blood on him later, but we're not sure.
May not be his.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So Dane sees Perrin killing his dad, just screeching, just like, oh no, daddy, type of a moment. Loial pulls Perrin out of the way just as he's going to get hit. And Uno comes to save the day. The White Cloaks are pulling Dane away because obviously he's having his emotional moment, seeing his dad killed by somebody who he thought was a friend.
Yeah, and he's yelling, Two rivers. I wonder if that's going to bite Perrin.
Maybe. And Uno goes, don't be so bloody surprised. I'm a hero of the Horn. And then hands the shield over to Perrin and goes back to fight. And Loial is like, okay, you got to go save Rand. Pushes him out of the way. And Uno is kicking butt, taking names. Also kicking butt and taking names are the rest of the heroes of the Horn and Mat. And there's space now. Mat runs up to the tower, has the horn with him. Then we go back to our broken women. Nynaeve still trying to channel. Elaine now says, okay, fine. This isn't working. And says, use what you know. You're a wisdom. And once again, the acting here, it kind of switches because Nynaeve is like, oh yeah, I have other skills. And it's like, gets this almost strength of like power and turns and is like, all right, this will hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And basically pushes the crossbow bolt through Elaine's leg, which does not sound great. It sounds really, really awful. And the screaming.
Oh, right.
Oh gosh, it was really painful. But then Nynaeve was like, all right, it's through. We have to get to Egwene. And Elaine's basically, leave me. I'll just slow you down. And Nynaeve's like, nah, I can't do that. I don't know if I'll be able to channel when we get there. If I can't, she'll need you, not me.
Yeah. And so I really did like this scene because Nynaeve has been taught since she's been to the tower that the power is all. Like, use the power for this, use the power for that. And even though she's wearing her wisdom's belt, she's still lost touch with those roots. Like, she names every single herb she sees, but she hasn't been using her wisdom knowledge. And so I like that Elaine is able to see that and remind her, like, hey, you can do this. Like, you're not incompetent just because you can channel now. Like, use your past knowledge. And, like, immediately Nynaeve's demeanor completely changes. And I really, really enjoyed that.
Yes. Yeah. And I like this moment of Nynaeve accepting Elaine and accepting the limitations that she has. All of the whole parts in the tower that they were connecting with was basically like hyping Nynaeve up, all of this thing. She's getting very like angry at the world and all of this like personal turmoil too, because she's like, it's her fault that Leandrin captured her. Like all of the things are just like, it's a lot. And so this moment of acceptance that she needs help and like completely like had to make things happen, basically.
Yeah, and she couldn't do it, and she admitted it.
Yeah.
Like, she's been so stubborn, always wanted to do everything on her own. And now she's like, hey, I can't. I need you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's some good growth for her.
Yeah. And is she can sense that the world is kind of ending right now, or like the battle is turning, because he's like, it looks like our time is up. Will you join us? And talk about like getting too early, because Rand is clearly like, I will never serve him in 1,000 lives. I never have. I know that. I'm sure of it. And she just kind of has this moment of, oh, she's right. You're so much like Lews. And Rand sees Mat come up the stairs and doesn't even try to pretend like he's not even looking. Like, in my mind, like, you look at it out of the corner of your eye so you don't see recognition. Like, this is something that's said in the books. This is very much summarizing, or, like, just the essence of it, of, like, in order, like, someone sees someone out of the corner of their eye, and so they keep their concentration on the person that they're staring at and talking to so they don't get noticed or whatever. Rand is very bad at that, but it's fine because Ishii knows what's going to happen in a weird way, because Mat throws the spear and it goes right through. Such a simple illusion. How could you not see it? If it's any consolation, I'm sorry too, Rand. I truly am. Mat feels absolutely like heartbroken, because he thought he was trying to save. Yep, he thought he was going to save Rand, and in fact, has just completely destroyed it.
And we saw with Mat's dagger, when he stabbed other people, they like started decaying from the dagger, like the evil in the dagger. But Rand doesn't do that right away. You think that's because he can channel, or his Ta'veren-ness?
Maybe.
I think it just worked slower because something was happening, and when we see the wound, it's an early wound, and so I think it's just a bit of time lapse there.
Yeah,
But
I think also like maybe where it hit, because we see a little bit of like differences in death time in other people. So like the first death with the dagger of the Shanshin guard is like right in the really deadly part. So of course it's gonna be dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was questioning that as well. Just
Yeah, I mean, same with season 1 when people were stabbed with the dagger and they didn't die. So
yeah.
Another bit of information we get from this scene is that Min's viewings, even though we see them as imagery, are not to be taken literally.
Yes.
Yes, Mat wounds Rand with the dagger, but it doesn't happen in the way that it's depicted. So, I think even though we see a scene, and we can look at all of the other scenes that Min has shown, there's no guarantee they happen just like that. That isn't a filming of the scene. That is a representation of what could happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
let's talk about that more in the book section.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah. But before Ishii can do anything, Egwene comes and like this really cool like pushes him away, and to stop him moving, Ishii kind of sparks some air to like stop him from sliding, which is really cool, and is like, you can't face down the chosen, child. But Egwene freaking does. This awesome shield holding against the fireballs, and the power that it's taking for her to do it. I love how much energy you can tell that she's putting into it.
And this is why I really wanted to know how much training she's gotten and like how powerful she's gotten, because Ishamael's supposed to be the strongest of the Forsaken. I don't know if they say that on the show, but he's the big cheese of the dark, and for Egwene to be able to match him toe to toe,
I don't think she's matching him. She's blocking him, which is. Like, she wouldn't be able to attack and do damage, but, I mean, just barely holding on enough.
Yeah,
but I mean, we've seen Lanfear just sweep away C1, for example.
Yeah.
Or Moiraine, for that matter, just kind of blow and toss her through a way gate. Ishamael can't do that to Egwene.
Oh, well, I think
that's interesting.
I think that's not necessarily what he's trying to do, but also the type of protection. So he got pushed away because he wasn't ready for Egwene. And then Egwene is literally just putting a shield, and you see parts where the fireballs that he's shooting open up holes in the shield, and she's able to close it again. So like it's not direct like power. It's kind of a way that you can protect something while having less strength than you might have.
Yeah. And Ishii already pushed her to the side with the power because she wasn't expecting it, so there's still that sense of being put off balance, and somebody can get at you that way.
Yeah. Let's take a moment, shall we, and spend time with our Moiraine and Land moment.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, they're still walking on
that's
the beach.
where happens. That's not the way that should be said. Basically, Moiraine sees this massive bit of channeling coming from boats and is like, okay, I get what I need to do. Lan is trying to convince her to be more careful, that this is what Lanfear wants, and that there could be innocent people on the ship. And Moiraine is basically like, I will let 1,000 innocent people die if there is even a chance that he will live. That is what it means to support him. And Moiraine sees some Shanshin coming out of the corner of her eye, and they look at each other as Moiraine spins one way, Lan spins the other. She's doing this really beautiful, like the cinematography, there we go, in this moment is just gorgeous because the light, everything is just flawless as she's channeling and bringing these epic fire, air, whatever over to head towards the ships. And Lan is going to use his awesomeness to protect Moiraine, including grabbing an arrow out of the air.
Oh my god, that was so amazing.
That was so cool.
Lan finally gets to be Lan again.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you can tell that the not having the bond definitely affected him. But can we talk about how dumb the Seanchan are? Like, why are they going after Lan when there's so much space in the beach to go after Moiraine? Like, obviously something's happening. They're familiar with channelers. Even if you can't see the weaves, you know that obviously something's happening here. Why the heck do they redirect their angle to go after the dude with the sword that's fighting and killing each other instead of, like, looping? I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt
They
very
all
Stormtrooper.
missed badass Lan, and they wanted to give them this moment, even if it cost them their own lives.
Yes.
They're committed.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just feels... It felt very Stormtrooper.
Oh, okay. Yeah, making bad choices. I was going to suggest that there's a sense of honor with the Seanchan, but I don't think there even is that, where they wouldn't kill somebody that's unarmed, apparently.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're killing innocents in their town, in the city, too.
Yeah, but only people that resisted, because when they didn't even then, once they subdued them, they stopped. Yeah,
but, like, in the like, you're in the freaking, I don't know. It just, again.
Just gotta accept it.
Minor moments. Again, said with so much love for this episode, like, these are very, very minor critiques. Like, extremely minor. We understand.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it just was like, really? Really? And doing that pan away shot with the drone or whatever, to see them. There's even one Seanchan that, like, starts to run towards Moiraine and then changes direction to go towards Lan. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. But that's okay. Ishii is attacking Egwene, manages to, again, more holes through the shield. Breaks it down. She manages to bring it back up, and she's kneeling now. And Egwene apologizes to Rand that she couldn't protect. But don't worry, because Perrin comes and brings the shield that Uno gave him.
Magic shield.
A magic shield. A hero
Captain
of a horn
Shinar's shield.
Yes. And it helps. And the two of them are able to keep track of keep Ishii away. As Elaine and Nynaeve come too. And obviously Nynaeve can't channel, so Elaine is healing. Nynaeve and Rand is awake enough to be like, who are you?
This is the meet cute.
So cute.
Yes, such a cute little moment. Elaine. Okay, and Nynaeve is watching. You can tell that she's sad that she can't channel, but is still like supporting her. And the wound is healed. It definitely,
it's ugly and scarred.
Ish. Yeah, ugly,
Yeah,
scarred.
some of the black little tendrils go away.
It's got the corruption inside of it still, so, that's a thing.
And Mat says, Rand, you have to do something. And he's like, I can't. I'm shielded. But don't worry. It won't be shielded. He won't be shielded for very long because Moiraine's channeling is getting closer, and it sets fire to the ships. Sarath and Alwyn both see it coming, and they're just like, dang. And it explodes the ship and breaks the shield. And then you see it kind of like bouncing around to the different like ships, which was really cool in a weird way. And Rand kind of falls backwards and stands up and does this really epic, like, all right, it's my turn. Grabs his sword off the ground, walks through the shield, and channels to make the sword extra like fiery, and just kind of stabs Ishi through the heart. And Ishi lets it happen.
I don't know.
Certainly seems that way.
Yeah, I think he you know, here's the plot line from all of the whole episode is that he's ready to die. What this means for the future, no one knows. We'll see, but the sword the blade of the sword gets dissolved, basically, burns away, brands a heron in Rand's left palm. We'll talk about that in the books section. And Ishi like looks up, and this really, you know, beautiful shot of the seagulls just kind of floating there, and it's so beautiful. You should see it, Lews. And Ishi Rand, I almost called him Lews Therin. Rand asks, "What do you see?" And Ishi goes, "Nothing at all." Gets a slight smile, it turns to ash and disappears. And I don't know if I've ever been so not sad, but like emotional about a villain dying like this. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of, you know, the villains in shows and, you know, the anti-heroes and all of that jazz. But like, I was happy that Ishi got to die. Almost. I don't know. It was an emotional moment. I really liked it.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about it in the book.
Yep, exactly. So Moiraine has managed to burn down all the ships. Lan says they're retreating, and she's sitting with herself of like, okay, now what? And then realizes what Lanfear said after pushing her through, or before pushing her through the Waygate, you know, you don't forget the banner. And she says, above the Watcher shall the dragon be proclaimed, banner across the sky and fire. All right, let's go, basically, and starts channeling a dragon. Lan
so all the special effects budget
right was for this.
Forget the Shan Chun exotics or anything like that. We're not gonna have crazy animals. We're gonna do a dragon.
It did not. I wish that it hadn't have been a defined dragon necessarily. It didn't work for me.
It worked for me. I liked it.
Okay. It was too cheesy for me. Although I did get the emotions of everyone else looking, you know, the ABC maidens take down their veils and they're like, oh, the Karakarn. The heroes disappear in smoke. Massima is looking amazed. Lanfear.
Pay attention to Massima.
Yep. Lanfear in her very good suit is looking proud.
She's pleased,
Everyone joins Rand kind of on the edge of the broken tower.
Very Lion King.
Very Lion King. Loyal smiling. The dragon, you know, this really epic finale. Just the music is swelling, just gorgeous. But don't worry, we're not done yet. Because we've got a little bit of an epilogue.
Oh, and I loved this
this scene was so good.
I devoured this.
Lanfear comes waltzing into Ishi's house and then has this moment of, oh shit, because the seals are broken and there's a person sitting playing with like spider webs almost of power.
She's weaving spider webs of the power and kind of laughing, giggling.
Softly from the shadows.
Yeah.
And Lanfear goes, Magidian.
And we should mention the actress here is a Spanish actress, Lea Costa.
She was incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely frightening. Ishamael left us out. He had a sneaking suspicion you were going to betray him. It's just like, hey, she's creepy. And obviously Lanfear is scared out of her mind. And is asking where the others are. And Lanfear tries to channel. McGideon captures her in a spider web and just kind of does a little flick and makes some blood in her hand.
Yeah, the webs themselves seem sharp.
Yeah.
So it's like shielding her and containing her and hurting her. This is a creepy Forsaken right now.
Yeah, so creepy. And obviously even Lanfear is trying to, is feeling creeped out. And McGideon is just like, you and Ishamael were always too close to the dragon. The rest of us don't share that fate. Mm-hmm. Then softly from the shadows. Whew. And this is something that Lanfear apparently used to say to McGideon, that she was too cautious, too afraid, too weak. And Lanfear's like, you don't want to fight me. Mm-hmm. Trying to be this brave soul. And McGideon's like, yeah, you're right. This is not a fight. It's a warning. Next strike.
She leans in and sniffs her, which is
kind of
so weird.
Rests her head on the chest of just And next strike, I don't miss. And then McGideon leaves, and Lanfear, the breath.
Well, it's important to say how she leaves.
Oh, yes.
So we already know that Lanfear can teleport Rand out of the ways. Well, McGideon has no qualms about using this traveling ability either. So right as she delivers her warning, she just vanishes. She teleports out, and that's when her web falls. And Lanfear is worried, and she says something astonishing.
Light.
Did you have?
Yeah, light help you, Rand al'Thor.
So that was an amazing line for a Forsaken to deliver. Light help you. Which, just goes to reinforce what I've thought of as this kind of push-pull two identities of Lanfear and Selene. And makes me wonder if there's a redemption arc there.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, just like this one bit in the books, no one can ever, we've said this before, no one can ever be too far in the dark that they can never return to the light.
Yeah.
Maybe a Forsaken can't. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All the cool complexity that we got out of Lanfear looks like it's going to continue in season 3. Although McGideon has warned her, stay away. Now, all 5 of them, he's ours now. All 5 of them are. So, Ishamael at least, Ishamael and McGideon, we're thinking Asmodean because of the guy with the guitar, the statue with the guitar.
Yep.
Grendel. They're all in play now, which is super exciting.
Everyone is coming. So yeah, I can't wait to find out what happens. Even if we have to wait a very long time, potentially. But you know what? What an ending.
So satisfying.
So satisfying. Such a redeeming quality for the whole thing. I'm so impressed they managed to really come and sweep it all up, and I just so good. So good. All right, is there anything else before we blow the horn of Bloody Valere? Spoilers.
Blow the horn. Blow the spoiler horn. The book spoiler horn. Yay.
All right. We've got a whole list of book spoiler things to discuss.
So many.
Let's
start at the top. Rand being afraid to channel in books.
Actually, I wanted to insert one thing before that. So when Rena cut off Egwene's braid,
yes,
we talked about the in-show significance of that, which I thought was cool. But you know what? Back when we were reading the books, or back when the books were still coming out, that was my big theory of how Nynaeve would finally break through her block. Was she could only channel when she was angry. Her natural reaction when she was angry was to tug on her braid, the symbol of her authority and the symbol of her old life. And I just thought that's how they were going to do it. They were going to have her braid cut off, and that would make her confront the Aes Sedai part of her as opposed to the wisdom part of her. But no, that didn't happen in the books. But we did get this symbolic sort of, I'm cutting you off of your support, your old world support.
But in the book, Egwene was really anxious to get rid of that. It was only a couple days after they crossed White Bridge that she started unbraiding her hair.
Yeah.
Yep. So she was the one to reject her past and embrace the future. And Nynaeve was the one stubbornly holding on.
Yep.
But this was how Egwene kind of went back to that when she was in trouble, which I thought was a really a nice touch.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked that moment. And I also like that Egwene saves herself.
Yep.
Instead of having this connection with Nynaeve and Elaine coming and they figured out how to open it and saving her basically. And we also didn't have any moments of saving other Damane like in the books. So that'll be really interesting to see where season 3 starts. Are we going to have another time jump? Are we going to have, this cleanup on aisle 3 thing? I don't know. We'll find out.
Because how they handled this, I mean, it was inevitable that Egwene was going to kill Rena, because she said she was going to. The books handled it a little differently, and there's a little more long-term political consequences here, because the idea that a Sul'dam could be collared is really devastating to the Shan-Chan, because in their conception, there are women who can channel, Marath Damane, who need to be collared, making them Damane, and there are the Sul'dam who can control them. The idea that they are the same and one's fate could be the other's just as easily breaks down that entire structure that is really the basis of power of Shan-Chan.
Tuan has a pretty good explanation
she
as to why that is.
Yeah, she does have a rejoinder to it, but I think
she can do some mental gymnastics there.
Yeah. I think among the Shan-Chan, that's a revelation that causes a fire, and we never see the full fulfillment of how that information works, but we're given the implication that this is these are the seeds of potential change within Shan-Chan society. And we're not doing that right now in the show. Again, that may be too far reaching for the show to plant seeds on, but it's interesting.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go to the dragon then. Rand in the books was still by the time this battle happens, Rand is still afraid to channel. And had the not years but months of training with Lan, and somehow gets this magic, somehow manages to beat Turak. Using tricks. And I like this bit better. I like it. It felt more believable almost.
Yes.
Instead of being able to beat an actual actual Blade Master.
Yeah. I think the books kind of established at least that he had a lot of training, and, you know, the idea of Ta'veren does influence things in the books a lot more than it does here in the show. So the idea that fate will twist and you'll do something. Also, there was this, in the books at least, or in the book, in The Great Hunt, there's a scene that makes it kind of some internality with Rand, where he's fighting and he's saying, I'm not going to channel, I can't channel, I'm going to go mad. And he's, you know, fighting with the sword as he's doing this. And Turak's like sensing that something weird is up. And to me, that reminded me of the first book in Dune, when Paul Atreides and Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen are fighting, and Paul has this trigger word that will disable Feyd-Rautha if he wants to use it. But he's restraining himself from using it. And he doesn't want to. He's not going to do it. And Feyd-Rautha kind of senses that there's something Paul's not revealing here. And that's kind of what causes him to slip. And Paul kills him then. But, hey, we got the cool Indiana Jones moment here.
Without him being sick. And that's why it happened.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think it's, again, it comes down to pride. Whereas in the book, it's kind of like this honor thing. Like, I don't dare step over that line. And here in the movie or the TV show, it's like, well, who cares? Like, kill him. It doesn't matter. You know, there's not that obligation to be, oh, I'm a man and I'm going to face you. Like, I hate that. I hate that in movies. Like, when they're like, you got to fight me with your fists. And so they all drop their guns. And it's like, what? Why? No.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Which is interesting, because in movies, I think the only reason they do that is so they can do some cool fight choreography.
Oh, God, it drives me insane. I hate that trope.
So, yeah, it's a heck of a trope. But not here. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's good. Good job,
really
Rand.
Great. Yep.
Just kill him.
I loved it. All right, Ingtar in the books holds a whole pass for a longer period of time than in the show. And does it as a way to sacrifice himself for the light, because he had been a dark friend.
Right.
In the show, there's no indication of that at all, which almost, I think, makes the commentary of the burial lose a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's less meaningful.
Yeah.
It felt like it was being set up, and, you know, you could still probably piece together enough evidence that, oh, the Shinaran sigil that we saw at the Dark Friend Social was his, and, oh, this happened, that. The thing is, now it's sort of a moot point. It doesn't matter. And we may as well assume that he walked in the light in this version. His sacrifice was a lot more dramatic in the book. It had more meaning, because he was one who was lost to despair. That the Blight would overcome the Borderlands, and the only way to stop that from happening, to save his people, was by making an alliance with the Shadow. That's why he was a dark friend. But then, you know, he had this change of heart where, you know, he saw flicker universes and stuff like that, and realized that, hey, no, I got to do this. I got to redeem myself, and this is the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's only so much room in 8 episodes.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a little sad, but it makes sense. I get it. All right. So I like the Bornhold moment. That so much more powerful than in the books. It felt, in the books, kind of felt a little bit. So, you know, for anyone that doesn't remember, Dane doesn't actually see Jeffrem be killed by Perrin.
He's up at the top of a cliff or something, looking at the armies moving in.
Yeah, because Valda tells him to stay back. Like, you gotta, you're the son, you gotta stay back, you can't fight or whatever. And it's just like this assumption almost that Perrin is there.
Well, he saw Perrin going in.
Yeah.
And so he knows that, and he thinks that, a dark friend caused something to make all this happen. But yeah, this is much more fun. This is
way more...
we were friends. I was flirting with you. You were the chosen one.
Right. But also the reason that, like, he kills Jeffrem because Hopper gets murdered. Like, this whole, like, triangle of not misunderstanding so much as, like...
It's causality,
revenge.
right?
Yeah,
it's revenge on revenge on revenge.
Perrin was fine with the White Cloaks because they were taking, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of a moment. Until
they fought
Valda...
together.
Yeah, they fought together until Valda comes and is like, oh, you are evil. I need to take care of you. And then gets attacked, just this whole domino effect of a bunch of stressful moments, and it makes so much more sense than just a petty meh.
Yeah.
Well, and now we got a good reason too for Perrin's nickname that Dane had.
Yes.
So Two Rivers. Book readers know that by book 4, The Shadow Rising, one of my favorite sequences happens, which I call the Scouring of the Two Rivers, because it's like the Scouring of the Shire in Tolkien. But Perrin goes back to the Two Rivers because the White Cloaks have besieged and occupied it.
Yes.
And it's Dane who wants revenge, who is, well, also driven by Pet on Fane, but he's revenge crazy, and he's squeezing the Two Rivers to lure Perrin back, and that sets off a set of events that really shows Perrin growing as a character, growing to become a leader, growing to become someone who can mobilize his home and bring it into the war against the Shadow.
Yeah. It's very central to Perrin's growth arc.
Yes, definitely. So I'm hoping this is a setup for that. I think it is.
Yeah,
I'm
I think so
afraid
too.
of how many episodes will be devoted to it. Like, I can't see more than 2 being devoted to it, although it really deserves its room to breathe because there are other events that happen to it. Perrin becomes a married man again.
Yeah. And we've got a little bit of setup for some other things too. Alana and Varen are hanging out together.
Ivan dies too.
Yeah. And so, and see, this will be interesting. Okay. So, Thom noticed a little hand signal. That Maxim did in episode 7, which has caused a commotion. And it, that signal is one that was used in the books to identify as a dark friend, not necessarily got Voldemort's nose. And so in the books, both Varen and Tomas are dark friends. So is Adelaus and Van Dien too, but that's...
They were?
No,
they weren't.
One of them?
Because one of them was killed by a Black Ajah, and the other killed her.
I thought they were... Okay, well, never mind. Ignore that part. Anyways, so in the books also, we know that Alana loses a warder. And that almost causes her to be a little crazy, which might be the impetus to bond Rand.
Yep.
This will be interesting to see if is just Maxim dark friend, and that's why he is able to take advantage of being blocked off from the other two, or all 3 of them dark friends.
It's interesting because
know.
When you go in light of our very own Thom DeSimone's spotting of that signal, I was looking back at episode 7, and I think we'd talked on this podcast that Ivan just went off and had a beer with Thomas, and it was good,
right?
But no. when we see Thomas again, he's not with Ivan. Ivan has disappeared. 2-1 warders got their way with Alana, and that allowed Ivan to go follow Thomas. Ivan didn't trust Viren. A lot of stuff pointing to there's some dark friend intrigue here.
Yeah.
And Ivan needed to be gotten rid of, and Maxim probably enabled it along with Thomas.
Yeah.
Which is creepy as hell, but isn't being paid off this season.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, any of it is possible. Let's find out. God. Sorry.
I love that. You're so cute.
Oh, thanks. All right, so the Soldam and Damane.
We kind of talked already about their politics. Is there any more stuff?
Yeah. Well, mainly the leftover. So we have this idea, this plan for what happens in the books is that collared Soldam are discovered in the kennels, and that starts kind of doing this big, like, I almost said tornado. An avalanche is the proper natural disaster. An avalanche of kind of this belief of, maybe collaring channelers isn't the right thing to do type of a situation. I don't know. But because of the way the death works, and because of the fact that no one else has been collared, I think this might... So one way that this kind of plot line could happen is they're saving other Damane that weren't ready to be in battle, type of a situation, or any Aes Sedai. Because here's another thing: if Megan was channeling to blow up things in the books, Aes Sedai Damane were not able to be used in battle because they could not create a weapon.
That is true. That is true.
So I don't remember if, and now I want to look it up. Was Megan standing next to Egwene with the leader of the Damane? Was that the...
It's implicit by the fact that she died at the top of the tower, but I don't think we ever saw her hurling fireballs necessarily.
Yeah, because now I want to see... Yeah, I want to see who the leader of the Soldam was commanding, I think is the right word that I'm looking for. Like, who was in charge of, who was she in charge of? Because we saw her, she was standing right next to Rena because she was like, get control of your demonic, do you have control? And Rena's like, no, I don't, I totally do. I got this, when clearly she does not. Hold on, I'm there right now. Let's see if we can see who she is controlling, because I don't see Megan. Okay, so I don't see who she's controlling there, but maybe when they get up into the tower. But yeah, basically, this is just a whole... So we know that we actually don't know the... Oh yeah, we do, because I'm trying to remember the when Swan makes Moiraine do the oaths. Is it the regular 3 oaths that are done, and then plus the obey the Amirlin?
Yeah.
So okay, so we know for sure that it's the regular 3 oaths, that it's the we can't use a weapon. type of
Right. Well, Egwene says all of them when Rima says, did Leandrin break the 3 oaths? And Egwene says, Elaine says all of them. So I'm assuming whatever we know in the books is true for the show.
Okay. That's good to know. Sorry. I know that was really rambly, but like, so it makes me wonder if there are other Aes Sedai that are, in the kennels that can't be used in battle, that are going to be used for other things.
Well, they might have an oath rod and undo the oaths.
Really?
They could.
I mean, yeah, but they would need to channel to make that happen, which means that they would have to trust a channeler, but they would also need to know what an oath rod is, because the Shanchen don't have the oaths. So they've
got a crystal throne. That's a ter'angreal. They've got other things that are ter'angreals in their society, right?
Well, yeah, but we don't know necessarily like if they're being used that way.
I don't see why they wouldn't use a Damani to. I mean, I know they're valuable, but to test ter'angreal and to try to create. I mean, because they're creating more Adom. It's not just the original one that what's her name made.
Yeah.
In fact,
so somebody there
was
has to have
told
a be
in the
able
books
to.
that she would be pampered indeed if she could create a Dom.
Yeah. I don't know. But I can confirm it is Megan that's standing right next to Egwene.
Okay, so you think she shot a fireball?
I don't know. I'm trying to see for that. But she just made the hand motions to fire.
Well, again, mental gymnastics. What if the Soldown threatened her so much that if she doesn't, she'll die? So it is in defense of her own life.
Or it's in defense, and it's also along the same lines of if you believe like you're using it to protect innocence type of a thing, and this is part of your responsibility to protect other people. So kind of.
But then Moiraine wants to kill innocents with the power. Can she do that?
Well,
oh my God, good question.
Obviously, like
she just killed people using the one power.
Protecting Rand.
And that's a much more
unless
obvious thing.
Unless by using like these mental gymnastics of using the power to destroy the ships.
No.
But not necessarily.
Yeah, she doesn't slit any throats.
In the books, Aes Sedai had to wade into battle to where they needed to feel personally threatened in order to channel against non-dark friend enemies. So I think either we have a hole here or we have a plot point. I think you arrived at something here. Moiraine used the one power as a weapon.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
I don't know what it means, but it means something. Yeah. Okay, what about, let's talk about Mat, shall we?
Yay! Mat!
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we've pretty much confirmed there's no red gateway thing in this moment.
No Eilfin, because he's gotten all of his memories from both T and the Horn, and he has gotten his Ashendari, his spear staff weapon, by making it.
The one he went through in Tyr gave him 3 gifts, and the one he goes through in Rhuidean, the one he goes through in Tyr answers 3 questions.
Yep.
The one he goes through in Rhuidean gives him 3 gifts.
3 wishes, and one of them is to fill in all of his
the memories, the Ashendari, and then a way to get out of there.
A way out, which is the Ashendari.
So do we think they'll flip
protection against the Aes
Sedai?
Sedai? The fox head. Yeah.
You're right. So was that 3?
That's 3.
Because he said 3. He wants memories to be filled. A way to get out of here. And so the Ashendari was the way to get out of here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he uses it kind of in the future. Cut through,
okay. And then the fox head. Okay.
Yeah.
So will we flip flop those? So maybe the one in Rhuidean is going to be the one that answers questions instead of the one that gives.
Well,
I mean, because he's the only one that goes through it.
If we get that at all, I don't know if that we're going to go to another world.
We may not get it. We may not have the Foxhead medallion. That may not be a thing that's going to happen. Because, like, yes, it's helpful to kill Greyman, and like as a plot point of like here's how Mat can, be cocky around the Aes Sedai type of a thing. I can see them just taking it out as a complication that's too difficult.
I mean, there could be other means of finding. You can find a Terangriel.
Yeah. There's other ways to
that's
get
true.
it.
Yeah, I think he'll have to have it just because that's how he becomes the general of the whole Light's armies. Is that he can't be tampered with by the Forsaken.
Yeah,
and that's how Lan kills Demon Dread.
Yeah,
that's true too.
Yeah. So I think it's possible to just kind of take away the snakes and foxes completely, or to combine them and get because the questions also weren't really helpful. Like,
well, one of them was just go to Ruidin.
Right.
You can have the plot do that.
Yeah. Give up half the light of the world to save the world.
Yeah.
You can have Aleda do a foretelling of him.
Yeah, right.
There's lots of ways,
there's
or they
so
could
many
come
different
up with
ways.
prophecies.
Yeah,
but the hanging.
You need that.
So we saw that in the tea.
In the mirror. Yeah.
Was that a past event, not a future event?
I mean, maybe that's what it's become. Maybe in his past life he was hanged.
Yeah,
and that's so just a nod
to different turning of my wheel. The wheel.
Yeah. I think we're definitely hammering the nail in the coffin of
that's too bad.
There.
Yeah.
I was this is one of the parts where I wish we had time to build things up, because one of the big things about blowing the horn is that everyone assumes it's got to be the dragon doing it. It's got to be at the last battle. We got to lead these armies against the shadow. And there's the slogan on the horn itself that says, "Seek not glory, but salvation," or something like that.
I thought it just says, "The grave is no bar to my call."
No. Or, well, there's a prophecy about it then. There's a phrase associated with it that says, basically, don't blow me for your own glory. Do it because you have need of salvation. And Ingtar knew this, and he wanted to take the horn and everything. He says, I wasn't looking for salvation. I was looking for glory. So I shouldn't have this. I shouldn't have this horn.
Yeah, I think it's part of the lore around, especially in the Shynarine community. Yeah, it's not on the.
And it takes Mat a while. He kind of says, he rationalizes it out and is like, we're trapped. We've got armies coming to kill us. There's no escape from this. Who's to say we're not supposed to blow it before the last battle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he does it because he needs salvation for all of his friends. Mm-hmm. And that's what leads up to it. So, I saw kind of him doing some mental math as he was facing the Shanshan. He blows the horn. It happened a little quickly for me. This was supposed to be the big dramatic moment. Yeah. And it was. But
I think it's as dramatic as we could with only 8 episodes. Again, like we by implementing the slow motion, you kind of have a little bit of that moment, and the epic dust and stuff coming in, and Mat getting the memories and this.
Yeah,
it worked for me.
Yeah.
I had a theory from episode 7 that Mat would again do something completely unexpected and screwball, and that he would. He saw some memories that Ishamael wanted him to see of his past lives, wasn't satisfied with that, and would down the rest of the teapot. And that's how his head would be filled with memories.
Yeah.
Instead,
blowing the horn did it. And I felt like that was a disconnect. Like, why would it do that?
I think it almost implies that by blowing the horn, you become a hero of the horn.
Yeah.
Which,
I guess,
having this
I
connection.
just felt like, I felt like having 2 back-to-back episodes with getting your past lives memories in two different ways just felt weird. And
well, maybe the tea opened the gateway, and then blowing the horn just kind of cemented that path.
Sure, yeah, you can do the headcanon.
Or like this idea that Ishi didn't, like, those weren't actually past lives. Mm-hmm. Just a manipulation to try and get him to turn to the dark. Also, this idea that, like, he didn't remember anything other than those, 3 flashes of stuff, whereas now he has all of the memories of all of the ages and all of the past things.
Well, and I think that's a much more compelling story because, I don't want those glimpses to be illusions that Ishamael created. I want them to be like, well, yeah, I've done horrible things in my past lives. I've also done wonderful things in my past lives. The conclusion I reach is that I have the ability to choose in this life.
Yeah. Honestly, it would not surprise me if the past lives that are mentioned in the tea are never mentioned again, if we don't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
True.
I wondered if Mat was going to have the veins of gold moment, that epiphany of, I get to choose my fate type thing, and then just Rand wouldn't have it later, but they didn't really quite go there.
Nope. That's okay, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I buy it. Him getting his memories.
Yeah.
From the horn.
Speaking of Rand, how about that wound, eh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this is where, and I think they've streamlined the metaphysics here because it was a complicated bit of metaphysics in the books, that the evil of the Dark One was of one kind, and the evil of Shadar Logoth was of an equal but opposite kind. Rand received a wound from Ishamael, which is of the Dark One's variety, and Padan Fain was the one who stabbed him in the side later, and the two evils fought each other, and sort of, with some Aes Sedai help, he got that contained, and so the evils could fight each other and they wouldn't kill him. Yeah. I think this is a good simplification. It does make me wonder, though, how they're going to, or if they're going to, cleanse Saidin, because that was the clue that helped him figure out how to cleanse Saidin.
I think there's a way to get other clues to. It would surprise me if they did not cleanse Saidin. But it may be like far in the future.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too, because now we saw the sealing of Ishamael, and we don't have a clear sense of what the Dark One's counterstroke was, which is what corrupted or tainted Saidin. We also don't have a clear sense of why Ishamael could roam the world occasionally before Rand destroyed his seal.
Yeah.
So those are either mysteries or oversights, don't know which.
Probably mysteries, because I doubt something like that would be
it's kind of
an
fundamental.
oversight. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. But again, we'll see what happens. Gosh, I'm sorry.
It's implied.
Okay, so how about this part where Ishi actually dies? Maybe?
Wow.
I mean, the ashes implies more death as opposed to the end of season 1.
I mean, it feels very final. We know as book readers that the next time we actually see... So, as book readers, we know that Rand stabbed Ishamael with a sword, just as it kind of happened in the show, but Ishamael used a staff and created the wound in Rand's side. And then when we next see Ishamael, he is like holding his chest, he's wounded, he's got problems here. And then later, he's, flat out killed, but the Dark One resurrects him as a character called Moradin. I think if they decided to bring Moradin into this, I think it would be such a vicious twist of the knife to Ishamael, because we've established that he just wanted to die. He doesn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
That's the refrain. He wanted to escape from the wheel, but now his master, who he was relying on to give him this peace, won't let him die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
even the
desperation
Dark One's gonna bring him
might
back.
need. Exactly. Like, that's what the Dark One needs, is somebody that's that desperate to have him win.
Yeah.
But that's so cruel.
It is so
So
cruel.
cruel. So
And who
evil.
knows? It
But again,
may even be a redemption arc.
Dark
for
One.
him.
Hello.
Well, yeah. The Dark One is bad.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this. I'm just making sure you know the Dark One is bad.
I don't know.
Well,
Not necessarily.
I thought Lanfear was bad too, and now I'm rooting for her.
No. Remember
I love the actor so much for Ishamael that
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I don't want him to leave. I want more of him.
But when Rand's battling the Dark One in A Memory of Light, Rand does the opposite, where everybody's just good. And the Dark One's like, oh, this is fine with me too. So the Dark One's not necessarily all bad. He just takes away the
That's true.
free will.
well,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the more fundamental good there, is that not just that everything is orderly and peaceful, it's that people can actually be their souls, themselves, and strive.
Yeah. I can see that.
So if we do get Moradin, it's going to be even more hurtful, because he wanted to die.
He wanted to die, and now he actually got to die and saw nothing. Like that moment was so sweet. Yeah. It was sweet.
Yeah. And we should make mention now that so I think, Kathy, you and I agree on this. That giant fiery dragon instead of like the dragon banner, an actual flag. This is one of those cases where I would have preferred the flag.
Yeah.
But yes, it was awe-inspiring, and it was awe-inspiring in particular to muscly Missima.
Who, by the way, has had to wear sleeves for most
Such a shame.
Yeah, I'm
Such
really
a shame.
disappointed, but it's
No
fine.
gun show.
No,
But, yeah.
no.
But we in the book spoilers section here, we know that Missima is so enraptured with the idea of the dragon reborn that he forms basically a cult, and he becomes the prophet, and that is used to the Forsaken manipulate him by appearing as a light-clad figure who he thinks is the dragon, and make him do some awful things.
Yeah.
So he becomes an enemy that Perrin has to go deal with.
Yeah.
But here we see the origins, and looks like that storyline is going to be is going to be there.
Yeah, it would shock me if they didn't have the prophet, just from everything that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Should we talk Moghedian?
Yeah. So creepy.
Yeah. Moghedian means spider, I guess, in the old tongue, or maybe it's a type of spider. So she was called the spider. Now we have this wonderful visual of the webs. She's not shown as stronger than Lanfear necessarily, but she is shown as potentially more dangerous.
Yeah, like I like that they did this as an option to like show how to it's not about strength, it's about how you use things, kind of.
Yeah.
So like being able to manage this Lanfear, who's one of the strongest Forsaken, manipulation through the way that she uses her weaves.
Well, I love that we get different special effects for channeling now.
Yeah, and it feels so different.
Yeah. We're used to it now, right? We've seen weaves, we've seen channeling, we've seen how it works. and to have this be something else, something so specialized to a character is wonderful. I can't wait to see, Super Jock Ishamael with his combat weaves and things like that. That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Grendel, oh my God. She's going to be the big compulsion weaver and, sexual predator. And how that manifests for her is going to be something interesting too.
Yep.
I'm glad they're doing different things with this. I'm glad they're making the Forsaken distinct now.
Yes. They don't just feel like, they're all the same, which, like we've said before, there's a reason that there's only 8.
Yeah.
Right. You can blend a lot of them.
Yep.
But, Moghedien now. I am so looking forward to Nynaeve and her facing off, because this is such a creepy, tittering, spider-like, insane person. And, Nynaeve's got such a different personality.
Yeah.
And to put that, I'm thinking of the scene in Tenchiko when they're facing off, and Nynaeve grabs, the sad bracelets and hits her over the head with it. And that's how she wins. But that's going to be so cool to watch just because of the presence this actress brings.
Oh my gosh, she's so good. And the hair and the costumes, all of that combination together make, once again, you can tell that they're from a different age.
Yes.
Without making it feel like they're costumey.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so incredible. I cannot wait to meet the other Forsaken. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about in our super secret text channels about kind of what our this, we'll delve more into this type of thing in the discussing about season 3, but we kind of have sculpted our thought for who what Asmodean's character will be. Especially,
we'll unleash that on you next time.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. So I think that's all. We have now been recording for 3 hours, which I think is
I actually have to go back to work now.
Yeah, I know. So instead, I will remind you that you can find links to follow us online in the show notes or on Dragonmount.com. On our website, we have so much great content about the Wheel of Time. Blog posts, chapter and episode summaries, news, as well as links to our YouTube channel and our shop. You will definitely find things to entertain you. Speaking of the shop, we will have some new products coming down the line, and also make sure to check out our Patreon that will be revamped in the future. Not only do you get to support the community of creators here at Dragonmount, but we have some other goodies for you, including full interviews with the cast and crew that were done before the SAG strike. I've been Kathy Campbell.
In an age-long past, I've been Rajiv Moté.
And I'm Maureen Carr.
This is not the ending, but it is an ending. Thanks for listening, and we hope you have an absolutely incredible day.